everything started out on the right track, on a normal path. And then when I was around 3, my parents got divorced. And I don't know, I had a feeling at some time that suddenly my life would never be like that again.
Just a shadow on your wall. One day you won't think of me at all. From the silence of your summers past, you have been released at last. To the void you have been surely cast. Everything is moving much too fast. Everything is moving. Out on Main Street, you had time to burn. Burning up and burning out. But now has come your turn to release your dying and your dead, to refuse to let yourself be led. Now that you are here, it must be said, everything is moving too far ahead. Everything is moving. I was killing time. I had nothing else to do but dream without sleeping. To fall and fly, I'll say if I could just let go without leaving. Been sinking in the west with a blood red heartbeat rising in my chest. From the sadness of my winters past, I have been set free at last. To the void I have been surely cast. Everything is moving much too fast. Everything is moving. Everything is moving. Everything is moving. Everything is moving. Everything is moving.
Hey there, everybody. Thank you for watching tonight. I'm Gary Waldman. I'll be your host for the event. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up. That video, if you haven't seen it, we put it out a couple days ago. That's a song called Everything is Moving. It's a song that Neal wrote 8 or 9 years ago. And the version that you're hearing is a version that we recorded in Brooklyn in 2013. And we never finished it. So it was, the original recording was Neal on acoustic guitar, John Graboff on acoustic guitar, Joe Russo on drums, and Jeff Hill on bass. And luckily, Neal sang a great vocal, as you just heard. But we never finished the song. It was just acoustic guitar. So we, earlier this year, we got it together, did some overdubs to it. John Graboff played that amazing guitar solo and the pedal steel guitar solo right after that. And we mixed it with Jim Scott, and we put it out a couple days ago. It's up on Spotify and all the music services, and the video is up on YouTube. And we got some nice press the other day from various outlets, and I just thought that we would start with that in case anyone hadn't seen it. So what we'll do now I'm a one-man show here, so I'm switching between videos, and so some of the videos are pre-made, some people are coming on live, so just bear with me. And right now we're going to talk to Joe Russo, and he's going to tell us his memories of this recording session for that song. So just hang on one second, and here we go.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, buddy. How's it going, Eric?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you.
You too. And you and Neal, of course, were both New Jersey metalheads.
Yes, that's
You
where we
very
bonded.
special bond.
Yeah, we had a secret band that might have even had a MySpace page. I don't know, called Murder Park with umlaut over the U, of course. That we were one day gonna bring to fruition. But yeah, that was a fun, getting to meet Neal through the Grateful Dead world, and then make those connections from, both being the Jersey metalheads is a fun and safe space to be,
When you grew up, because Neal, he knew about the Grateful Dead, and he'd listened to them when he was younger, but he had gotten really into rock music by the time he was 15, and metal, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Was it all metal?
It was pretty much, yeah. I've told the story a lot. When I first started getting when the Further started, and I was part of the Grateful Dead world for the first time, I would tell the story about, I was a total metalhead, wearing all black, as I kind of still do a lot of times. And one day, all my friends were wearing tie-dye, and everybody was listening to Grateful Dead. And I didn't get the memo, and I wasn't into the Dead. I just wasn't. I think I had to mature a little bit before letting it in. But yeah, it took me a long time, until maybe like a year or two before I even got the call for Further, where I started checking out the Dead, and I was just like, this is awesome. I was wrong, and kind of started getting hip to it. And then, of course, being in the thick of it with Further and hearing all the stuff that I never heard back then, there were elements of that music that I would have loved when I was a kid, but it didn't get to my ears yet. And actually, one of my favorite memories of Neal is when we were at Phil's Terrapin Crossroads, and we were going to play Terrapin. Neal was freaking out, and he's like, Joey, what the fuck is this music? I don't know what this is. I was like, dude, it's just metal. And and all of a sudden he goes into his like A-frame stance. He's like, it's just metal. And he comes back the next day and just like killed it. And it was just a sweet bonding moment of kind of that whole thing coming together. And one little anecdote is like, two Jersey metalheads coming together to apply their metalhead knowledge to playing Terrapin.
So great.
It was a really, like, probably one of my fondest memories.
Yeah.
Anytime I want to think about Neal, it's like that moment really, really sticks out for me.
Yeah. I remember talking to him that night, and he was like, I got to figure out this whole song. Oh my God. He was freaking out.
Just metal. Or actually, he was the one that said, he came in the next day, actually. He's like, Joey, it's cool. It's just metal. Like, he actually made that connection. I don't want to take credit for that. And then we were just laughing about it. And again, once he wrapped his head around it to his old metal days. He fucking aced it, you know.
That's awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Do you remember anything about the session for this song?
I do. You know, I can close my eyes and picture myself there. You know, the small room that Jeff was running. And, you know, I think it was one of the first times that Neal and I really got together. That, you know, and he had this beautiful song, and yeah, we were just like throwing it around and throwing some ideas around. And I remember it just being like a wonderful day of collaboration, you know, and getting these basics all, you know, so long ago now. And yeah, I remember that day. And then, you know, it wasn't until this year when you sent me the track being like, remember this tune? And I was like, holy shit, yeah, man. And I had thought about that a number of times, you know, from that day of the session until, you know, recently. And I'm so glad I got finished. It's such a great tune, and I love that you guys, you know, finished her up.
Yeah, it turned out great, and we, you know, it was funny. I was listening to it yesterday, and obviously the whole solo section, Neal didn't put any electric guitar on the song at all. The existing status of it was just the 2 acoustic guitars, you playing drums and Jeff playing bass, and luckily Neal had sang a great vocal on it. But he never played any electric guitar on it. So we sent it to John Graboff, who did the electric guitar solo into the pedal steel solo.
Graboff into Graboff.
Graboff into Graboff, which is his favorite way of playing, so that he can
the most boff you could be.
Yeah, and he stuffed every lick he knows. And I was listening to it yesterday, and the electric guitar part, he really nailed the Neal style.
I was gonna say, I kind of assumed Neal played the guitar on that. I knew Graboff played the pedal steel when I listened back to it, but until this moment, I didn't know the Boff played the guitar, because that is interesting. There was some Neal spirit there for sure.
Yeah, well, it turned out great, and just wanted to say thank you for playing that day.
Thank you. An honor to be a part of it, and like I said, I'm so happy you guys finished it up, and the video, everything to do with it is just beautiful, and you know, it's nice to be able to think about. Yeah,
it's easier to finish Neal songs without him nitpicking it.
Yeah, right.
But
you guys did a bang up job. I'm sure he would be very, very proud of it.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much, man. Good to see you.
You too.
There you go. Hey, I know that the stream is not looking great from what I'm hearing. I'm not sure what we can do about it. We are connected on Ethernet. We are at the mercy of Spectrum Wi-Fi. Well, not Wi-Fi because I'm connected to the Ethernet, but we're on their internet service, and for whatever reason it's choppy. So I really apologize about that. Maybe it'll get better as the night goes along, and sorry about that. Actually, I'm going to bring on Vito for a second. Vito runs the Tree of Forgiveness nightclub, and he put this whole event together, and he's been doing some amazing stuff and a lot of good things for musicians during this time. And I'll bring him on, and we can blame him. Maybe we'll blame him for the choppy picture. I don't know what to say. Hello, Vito.
It's my fault. We'll blame my Casey, not your Casey. No, it's the Ethernet gods and the internet gods are scheming against us tonight. But welcome to the TOF nightclub, everyone. We're so honored to be doing this tonight. Thanks to all of you for purchasing tickets and also for your generous additional donations. I would like to acknowledge an organization who contributed $1,000 to the TOF nightclub. And they asked that we in turn contribute it to the Neal Casal Music Foundation. So I'm going to virtually present this check to Gary from the Connie J. Klanica Foundation, another nonprofit that supports mental health initiatives. So we want to thank them for this generous donation.
Oh.
And there is the check, if we can get it to focus.
Well, there you go. There it is.
With all those zeros. So we welcome all of you to join us for any of our regularly scheduled shows that we put on every Thursday night. And I especially would like to invite you to join us this Thursday, December 10th, when we welcome Neal's good friend, Leslie Mendelson. and she'll be doing a full show herself. So thank you again for your support for this benefit, and enjoy the show.
Thanks, Vito. Well, we'll definitely watch Leslie. Leslie was a friend of Neal's as well. And on the Highway Butterfly tribute album that's coming out next year, there's about 40 artists doing Neal songs. And Leslie does a beautiful version of Feel No Pain, which was, of course, a classic Neal song from Fade Away Diamond Time. So we'll make sure that everybody logs in and watches her. Maybe she'll have a better internet feed than I've got over here. I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening here. But that's the way it goes.
We'll do the best we can.
Yeah. What other shows do you have coming up?
Well, we have a band called GA20, a real down and dirty Chicago blues style band from the Boston, Providence area. Then we've got Sean Eccles. We have a guy I never heard of until recently, but apparently Fish fans know who he is. His name is the Dude of Life.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's one of the guys who co-wrote a whole lot of the early Fish songs with Trey. They went to college together, and he's going to be appearing with his own band, and many, many others. We have shows booked right on into mid-April.
Amazing.
So
amazing. All right, Vito.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks for coming on, and thanks for putting this together and all the stuff you're doing.
My pleasure.
All right. All right, so now we're going to bring on Jamie Wyatt. So if anybody doesn't know who she is, she's a fantastic country singer. She has a new album out called Neon Cross, and Neal played guitar on this record. It's one of the last projects he did in 2019. The record was produced by Neal's friend Shooter Jennings, and Neal loved this record. And many times from the sessions, he was texting me pictures and telling me, "Wait, do you hear this record?" He was really excited about it. So I'm very happy to bring on Jamie, and we'll have a little chat with her. And also she, well, let me bring her on. Here we go. Hi, Jamie. How you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm good.
You're in Nashville?
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. It's freezing, but it's really, really lovely right now with all the Christmas lights everywhere. The show sounds great so far. Thank you for putting this on, Gary.
Yeah, you're welcome. Before you're going to play a couple songs for us, but before you do that, why don't you tell me just how you met Neal and a little bit about him playing on the record that you did?
Yeah, so I actually met Neal in Ventura, California, and he had come to one of my shows in Ventura. You know, that's a really small community there, and there's only a few clubs. And I just remember, and well, it wasn't just my show, so I shouldn't flatter myself too much. It was like a mini festival. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first time I met him, and I was so stoked because I was such a fan. And we'd exchanged numbers and talked about songwriting, but I'd been so just shy about it. And so, there's no way that, he'll have time or, so it came about that Shooter asked me if I'd like to take Neal onto the session and have him play on the album. And I was just kind of like, yeah, but will he do it? Because, he just, his talent and he just seemed like, untouchable as far as, getting someone like that to play on my album. And, but sure enough, he was very into the project and he remembered me. And it was just about the greatest experience I can recall in making an album, and getting to visit with him after, at the end of each day recording was so much fun. And my mom would come by and visit, and we would just be like, that Neal, he's such a joy. Yeah. He was just so fun. He made everyone feel so good.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a charmer to all. So, why don't you, so Neon Cross came out earlier this year, and I know it's done really well. Obviously, you haven't been able to tour.
Yeah, I think it's done all right. It's being well received, and some people are connecting with it, and that's the most important thing to me. There are definitely times where I'm like, I wish Neal could see how this is doing and how these songs are received. I just feel like he would check in and ask about the record often.
Yeah.
And it just like, it has his mark all over it. His emotion, you know, his spirit. And honestly, before he had passed, I just thought to myself, Neal took my music to a whole nother level, and that he knew how to work within, you know, the genre, my weird ode to country music. He like got it. Yeah. And he saw me as a songwriter. He also saw me as a person, which was cool. It was like, you know, I've been a woman for a long time in this industry, but there's very few times where I felt like someone at his status saw and recognized my artistry and was like, treated me like an equal.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and play us a couple tunes, and then I know you've got another show coming up, a private show, so we'll let you get on your way. But I can't wait to hear a couple songs.
Yeah, totally. I want to play one off the album, and I have to say also that this is Neal's guitar strap, and he gave me a few, because one day I was like, I literally don't have any guitar straps, and I was at the point where I was, you know, driving my mom's car, and because I didn't have a card and stuff, so he would just next day brought like 7 guitar straps that today I cherish.
Wow.
And so anyways,
right.
This one, this is called Mercy. Mercy, Mercy. Baby, I'm paying for a lifetime of sin, for the depths of the flesh and the arms of a man. Well, it takes 2 parties, and parties they ask for friends, of which all roads they close to an end. So I bled my horses and I laid down with Pharaoh, and I hitched out west to the heels of the sun. Mercy, I need mercy. Mercy. Mercy, don't try to hurt me. Honey, I'm sitting, there's a big white house without me. You can drink champagne on a cloud full of grace, but it ain't for creatures that sell themselves for comfort, 'cause they stole their horses to hide in the hay. Now I tip my hat and I thank you for the sadness, and I lay my head on a bed full of stars. Mercy, I need mercy. Mercy, and now mercy, don't try to hurt me. Woohoo! Mercy, I need mercy. Mercy, and then mercy, don't try to hurt me. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome. That sounded beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You want to do another one, or you?
Yeah,
All
I'd
right.
love to. Absolutely.
All right.
Just getting warmed up here. We got a 45-minute set. I mean, no, just joking. There's some great artists on tonight, and it's just such an honor to be a part of this. It's really fun for me. And I'll do this next tune. Another one that just like totally reminds me of Neal's. My song is called "By Your Side," and I can't play the lick like he does. And I wrote the lick, but I cannot play it. No one has played it like him since. Mm. And it's just quite unique, and it's quite Neal. But anyways, it's about grief and loss a little bit, and sort of how I processed losing my father a couple years back. And now every time I hear it, I'm like, Neal, man. So anyways, it's called "By Your Side" here. Cigarettes and dime, ketamine and wine. There's all these faceless opponents who talk like they own us inside. You made it clear that the blackest of hearts don't fear. And we never prayed, so let me love you once more for you. Slip back down into the waves. By your side. Right line, yeah. I'll never stop giving up on you. The criminal ain't the crime. It's kind of love ain't to find. It's always some magical moment that sneaks up and throws us aside. You left me with the blackest of hearts, so cavalier. And we never prayed, So let me love you once more before you slip back down into the waves. By your side, oh, how I tried line, yeah. I'll never stop giving up on you. Betches ain't hand sugar cane, and I can't recognize what we became. And who was that lying next to you when the gates open up? By your side, yeah. Oh, how I tried, like, yeah. I'll never stop giving up on you. Giving up on you. Giving up, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like a lick that Neal would have written.
Yeah, maybe
It
he
really
liked it.
does. Oh, that's beautiful. And
Thank you.
I had known of you, but I only met you when you came out to the studio in March to record. You did Neal's song "Need Shelter" for the Highway Butterfly album. So I'm gonna, for a second here, you could say hello to your old buddy Dave Schools.
Oh yes, please.
He is the co-producer of that record. There he
Yes.
is. Look, he's blurry
What's-
too. Look at
What's
him.
up, Dave?
Unmute your mic, Dave.
Recording Engineering 101, unmute the mic.
Yeah, right. Doesn't work in OFF mode.
I'm dark, I'm sorry. How are you, Jamie? You sound amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to see you, dude.
You too. In
I'm
these little
great.
windows, that's the way we work it now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm healthy, man.
Nice.
It's good to see you.
You too.
What a beautiful
Jamie,
night.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, and talk to you soon.
I'll see you guys soon. You made my week. Thank you so much. Much love.
I
Love you,
can't
Jamie.
wait for everybody to hear your version of "Need Shelter" too. It's awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited. That song's the best. We love Neal. We love you, Neal.
See you later.
See you, dudes.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, dark and blurry it seems, but you know, it's we're closing in on the the winter solstice. The days are short. Gets dark soon. You have a beautiful Christmas tree behind you. So.
I know. Look at that. I've got a little elf too. There's some other creature up there too. We haven't put many ornaments in yet, but we're gonna.
Yeah. Well, you're doing way better than I am. I have to tell you the truth.
Well, why don't you give us an update on the Highway Butterfly tribute album, where that's at, and maybe you can reveal some new additions to the roster.
I can do all that.
All right.
And I can tell you that recording is it's so close to being done that Jim Scott and I, our long-suffering co-producer, mix engineer extraordinaire, we can smell the barn. That's how close we are. We've got just a few more tracks, and really I would say that, you know, COVID stopped a lot. And it took a few months for everybody to find their virus legs, I guess. And bit by bit, people were able to record. Warren Haynes got together with Russo at the Carriage House and did Free to Go. It's amazing. I came out of my COVID cocoon at some time in, maybe it was September, and I recorded with Bob Weir at his studio, TRI, with Jay Lane and him, Time and Trouble. And that kind of broke me out of my personal quarantine. Because after that, just the weirdest thing of all fell in our lap. I was talking to Dwayne Trucks about how his Golden Messenger had recorded his record, or his song for the Neal record at Space Bomb Studios in Richmond with those guys. And then I said, hey, did you know that Tim Heidecker of Tim and Eric, Awesome Show, Great Job, has a record out on the Space Bomb label? And Dwayne Trucks just said, Neal loved those guys. Why don't we get Tim Heidecker to do a song? And I thought, that's a really good idea. That's a great gift for Neal himself, beyond all these other amazing artists. So I called up Tim, and he said his actual response was, I'm looking to a long career of participating in tribute records.
Well, for anybody who doesn't know who Tim and Eric are, you should Google them. They're a comedy duo. And now Neal was not a guy who watched TV really at all. He didn't know anything about TV shows or what was on where. But someone turned him on to the Tim and Eric show, which I believe was on Comedy Central or Adult Swim.
It was Adult Swim. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Neal used to quote that show all the time, and like it, for some reason, really appealed to his sense of humor. There you are.
Hey,
and,
I turned
so
up the
I
rabbit.
think all these great people doing Neal's songs, and he might be looking down at like, you got Tim Heidecker? No way.
Yes way. I mean, that show was a sacrament. At one point on Hardworking Americans tour, everybody was just quoting lines, and we realized that we weren't able to watch it. I guess it was in between seasons on Adult Swim, and
Yeah.
I think we were in Kansas or someplace, and Jesse Acock and Dwayne were like, let's use social media. And so they put a plea out on social media for DVDs of Tim and Eric for our bus. And literally the very next concert, we had a lion's share of DVDs.
It's amazing.
So it was, but that went great. I mean, Tim did a great job on a song called The Cold in the Dark. Yeah, sang his ass off. What else do we have? I have Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. Turned in a track where he played everything. And if you know anything about Jay, he's wont to do that. Play drums, play bass, play 8 million loud fuzzy guitars and sing. And he did a song called Death of a Dream. It's fantastic. It's not like anything else on the record. But Jim mixed it, so it is. What else do we have? I had a list and now it's running out of my mind. Oh, we got, speaking of Dwayne Trucks, O'Teal Burbridge, Dwayne Trucks, Nick Johnson, and Steve Kimmock doing an absolutely cruising version of Superhighway. It's fantastic. O'Teal sings it. And we got Derek and Susan doing Day in the Sun, which they recorded at their home studio, and it is devastatingly delicious. It's beautiful. And that's the thing. These just keep coming. Tim Bloom doing Cold Waves with Kyle Field from Little Wings. I recorded that. We've put these tracks together. Some of them have been Frankenstein, a la COVID style, but they all come back to Jim, and they're all performed with such love and respect for Neal and his songwriting that our cup runneth over, Gary. I think we've gone from a 3 LP set to at least a 5 LP set.
I know. Whatever, we're going to figure it out. We're going to do it.
That's right.
It's great. Well, thanks. You've done extraordinary work to make so much of this happen. So thank you for that. And it's been so much fun. I don't know what we're going to do next, but we're going to have to find another project to work on together because it's been so much fun.
It's been the best time ever. It's been so healing, and just the outpouring of love and talent. A lot of which is still to come on tonight's broadcast. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk to Aaron Lee, when you talk to Ross James, when you talk to Kenny, I think everybody listening and watching is going to hear the same thing repeated.
Yeah.
Just the utmost love and respect for Neal and this project, and yeah, I have some plans about what we're going to do next. So I'll be
Oh.
calling you a little later.
Fantastic. Well, speaking of Kenny, and that's Kenny Roby, we made a little video. We took one of Neal's old guitars that he left, and Kenny played a last song on it, and then we took the strings off and we sent it to Neal's very good friend, Michelle Dickey, who for years Neal had been giving his old guitar strings to, and she makes guitar string jewelry. So I made a little video here and I'll show it to you guys now. And thank you so much, Dave. You're the best. See you later.
Love you, Gary. Have fun tonight.
Love you too. See ya. Sorry, guys. Snafu there. Stand by. Hey, folks. We're up here in Woodstock, New York, probably the last warm day of the year. And we've got Neal Casal's old Martin, 1958 Martin D21 that Neal got about 10 years ago. It's got a beautiful little flower on there that Neal put on there, one of his favorite decals. Nice old Martin. This thing was really beat up, and Neal's friend fixed it up for him about 10 years ago, and he loved this guitar. And he left it to me, and now Kenny is going to play one last song on this guitar before we change the strings. And we're going to take the strings off and send them to Neal's friend, Michelle Petty, who's going to make some guitar string jewelry, which she had done with Neal's strings many times while he was around. And looking in this case, we got some old Neal set lists in here. Too Much to Ask, Highway Butterfly, Need Shelter, Here by the Sea, Tomorrow's Sky, Sleepless. What is Sleepless? And then Lost Satellite. And these were the strings that Neal loved for his acoustic guitars, these Pyramid Western folk strings. So we've ordered a new set of those, and we're going to replace the strings on this guitar, which haven't been replaced in many years. These are all Neal's old tools in here. That's a pickup.
It's a tag from his SJ.
This is tag from his SJ that we have. Also have that one. That'll be another episode down the line. But,
This is a Monica pick that she made me.
oh
thumb
yeah,
pick.
Monica.
Buddy on it.
She makes beautiful jewelry and made Neal some thumb picks.
And the last instrument you would expect to be anywhere near Neal Casal, a kazoo. If you said, which instrument do you never expect Neal to play in his life? Be a kazoo.
It would be a kazoo.
I would pick kazoo.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, his old
That's
sound hole pickup.
yeah. I forgot who made that. Nice.
Yep.
Those set lists.
Yep.
This is from an acoustic tour a few years ago. Same songs, a little bit different order on both of them. That's Neal's old strap there, little denim strap. And there it is, 1958 Martin D21. What are you going to play here, Kenny?
Oh, how about Town Fathers? That was a song that Neal and I used to play together. It's on Black River Side. It's a song we used to play in Europe together.
Neal wrote that song probably around 1994, 95.
Oh, yeah.
And the only record it ever appeared on was Black River Sides, which was the little duo record you and he made. So go ahead and play us that one.
All right.
You'd be a fool to reach out to me, hit me on my blind side. Honey comes around, won't let you be, hit you from the inside. When the town fathers lay down at night, they'll be dreaming of you while you're reading by candlelight of a love so true, waiting for you. Now those old wagon tails struck fear through the land. Oh, in their hearts was a golden man. Winds rise and cross, the clouds cool the sand. We won't be home till the snow flies. And when the town fathers lay down at night, they'll be dreaming of you while you're reading by candlelight of a love so true, waiting for you. When the town fathers lay down at night, they'll be dreaming of you while you're reading by candlelight of a love so true, waiting for you.
See you later, Neil Strings.
Yeah, I always loved that song.
All right.
There was another song that he wrote around the same time called Send That Wheel.
Oh, yeah. I never heard that one.
Yeah, I'll have to play you the demo for it. It was a song, his dad gave him a wheel from the farm
Oh,
that needed to be
I
like
heard that
taken
story.
to a repair shop or something. It was a wheel from a tractor.
Yeah.
And of course, Neal just left the thing sitting in the back seat of his car. And then finally his dad was like, "Yo, Neal, where is that wheel? Send that wheel to the guy." So Neal wrote a song called Send That Wheel, which never made it on an album, but it's a great song. Beautiful song.
You know, Chrissy Coleman sent me the other day some pictures. She was going through a bunch of old photos from back in the day. And I don't know if you'd taken them or she'd taken them of Neal and I in the dog kennel, like practicing and for the European tour. And we have like gloves on our hands. There's no heat. It's in the middle of the winter in New Jersey, and we have gloves and hats on, and it looks like we're blowing bong hits or something, but it's just smoke. It's just a breath vapor from being so cold in the kennel, and we're playing with gloves on our hands like Ted Hawkins. You know, it's great.
I remember that. I don't know if I took the pictures or Christy did.
There's some great photos. Maybe you can show some of those.
Yeah.
All right, let me get this winder here and take these strings off for you guys. So we'll send this stuff onto Michelle and make some beautiful jewelry and raise some money for the Neal Foundation.
That's the idea, yeah.
So there'll be, I don't know how many pieces of jewelry can you make out of 6 guitar strings, Michelle? More than
Hopefully
6?
a lot.
I don't know. Do you cut the strings up or you use the whole string? I don't know what she does. She'll tell us though.
Yeah, hopefully as many as possible.
All right. Well, goodbye, Neal Strings. Hopefully you'll make it onto some beautiful jewelry, and somebody will get that, and we'll raise a little money for the Neal Casal Music Foundation.
So they are making progress. That's a string, Scary. Let's see what I can do with these.
So I'm here with the strings from the Martin guitar. I was able to get them cleaned up and polished and ready to make some beautiful jewelry out of. Some very sentimental pieces. Neal was very gracious about giving his strings to me in the past, and once thanked me for making art out of his trash. I was like, are you kidding me? Thank you for allowing me to have your strings and make these beautiful sentimental pieces out of. One piece that's very sentimental to me is actually the necklace that I'm wearing, and it's something that I wear daily. It just kind of goes with everything, but it's on strings from the Swoop guitar, and it has a raw ruby attached to it, which is even more sentimental to me because a very dear friend gave me that piece, that stone. And I used that design to make this. These are the Martin strings, and I attached a smoky quartz to that. I also used smoky quartz on this. It's a more masculine piece, so that could be worn by male or female. I made a necklace for Mark Levy out of Neal strings, and I put a black tourmaline in the middle of the strings and gave it to him at Neal's tribute show, and he wore it while he was on stage. That was really special. That was the very last of the last strings that I had of Neal's. So here I have some earrings that I've made. These are hoops on leather, and they have, so I use 14 karat gold filled wire. So that's what they are held together with. Some more hoops. So yes, I do cut up the strings so that I try to use every bit of the strings, so that, you know, I can make more pieces, so more people can be adorned with Neal's strings. These are some rutilated quartz. These are modeled after the circles around the sun design that I made, which is this. Circles around the sun. I'll make a few of those. And then here's another pair. These are quartz as well. These are clear quartz, and that one's kind of tangled up, but and then I have this piece that is rutilated quartz, and that's set on 14 karat gold filled. So they're very sentimental pieces. So, you know, it's high quality jewelry that's going to last because they are such sentimental pieces. I use real gemstones and either, like I said, 14 karat gold filled or sterling silver. For some reason, I've been very drawn to use smoky quartz or just quartz, the rutilated quartz, the clear quartz with Neal stones. And last night I was like, why is that? Because I use other stones a lot as well. So I looked up in my crystal of all crystal books and realized that smoky quartz
is, well, first of all, it's a protection stone. It's a healing stone for emotional trauma, which I didn't realize that. I knew it was a grounding stone and a protection stone, but it's also a birthstone for Scorpio, which Neal is a Scorpio. So that made sense to me why I was so drawn to use that in the jewelry that I've made out of his strings. This was actually the first piece of jewelry that I made out of Neal strings. That's a smoky quartz as well. I have pictures of it and the other strings, jewelry that I've made out of his strings on my Instagram, which is Michelle Petty Designs. And I am going to get back to making more jewelry out of these strings. I have a lot of strings left that I can use. So I need to get busy.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. And so if you go to her Instagram, Michelle Petty Designs, so MICHELLEPETTY Designs. I think in her stories, she has a bunch of this jewelry for sale, and we will take the proceeds from that and donate it to the Neal Casal Music Foundation. So thank you so much, Michelle, and thank you, Kenny. Kenny and I both live up here in Woodstock, New York now, so we've been getting to hang out, and he's been writing a bunch of new songs, so hopefully we'll start thinking about a new album at some point. But and if you haven't heard Black Riversides, which is an album that Neal and Kenny did together in 1998, it's really a great album, and that song that Kenny played, Town Fathers, is from that album. So check it out if you can. And right now I am going to have a little chat with Eric Krasno, and then he's going to play a song as well. So here you go. Check it out.
So we're going to say hello to Eric Krasno. Hey, man.
Hey, man. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, too. I've been enjoying some of the podcasts that you've been doing. Very entertaining.
It's been fun. It's been fun connecting with musicians, especially during this time when we're not very social, or at least, not in person. So it's been a fun project, man. It's also just a learning experience for me, to get to kind of absorb and just get so many great stories from great musicians. Neal has been a topic on a lot of the shows. We've talked about him quite a bit.
Yeah. Something that probably only Kevin Calabro and myself know is that in the last couple months of Neal's life, we'd been talking about him hosting a podcast.
Really? I did not know that.
With the same guys that you're doing your podcast, Osiris.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And Neal would have been a great podcast host because he would have, in the same way that you are, because you both play so much music, so you know the questions to ask. And it's a shame that never happened, because it would have been great. But.
Yeah, he would have been so good. I also feel because he played in so many genres and styles with so many different people, which is something really interesting. We've talked about that before, that, at least when I came to the Capitol Theater, we did the tribute to Neal, just seeing how many different people from different worlds that he was involved with, and he wasn't someone that really wore it on his chest all the time. He was one of those guys that was kind of quiet about, and so humble, about all the things that he'd done and achieved, and all the musical projects he'd been involved with. So anyway, he had such a diverse bag,
Yeah, I went back, when we launched the Music Foundation, there was an article in Rolling Stone, and for some reason, I don't know how I missed this the first time when the article came out, but there's a quote from Shooter Jennings, and he had produced a song for a tribute album to Giorgio Moroder.
Oh, wow.
So Giorgio Moroder was a disco hero guy in the late 70s. I had a lot
like Daft Punk. Oh, it's like up there. They come from his thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Shooter produced a song. I forget what the title of it is.
That's an interesting combination.
And Brandi Carlile sang it. right? And in the article in Rolling Stone about the Music Foundation, Shooter said, oh, and Neal played this solo and we only had a little bit of time to do it, and it's all these weird chords. And I was like, how did I miss this? So I went back and listened to it last night, and his solo is awesome. I'll sing.
Yeah, send me that.
Yeah, and I don't know how I even missed it. I mean, I remember Neal telling me that he was going to do it, but then I'd never heard it for some reason. I heard it last night, and that was weird hearing him play, and something I'd never heard before.
Right, over that style. Interesting.
And we earlier we had Dave Schools on telling us about the Highway Butterfly tribute album, which is almost at 40 songs, and we're about to wrap it up. But you did a great song with Marcus King. It's Neal's song called No One Above You. What do you tell us a little tip about that?
It was such an interesting experience. That was actually the last like real recording session with a full band that I've done. And Marcus and I were hanging out. We had been in New York together for doing the Love Rocks concert, and he came out to LA and we were hanging out. It's funny because he actually did my podcast that day. And we were just going through, I think you had sent, maybe 6 or 7 Neal songs, and we were listening to them while I went and picked them up, and we were driving around LA listening, and that one came on, and we both kind of looked at each other, and I was like, man, you singing this. And then if we did like some cool guitar harmony kind of things to it, it would be really special. So we listened to it a bunch of times, and I think we went in, I can't remember if it was the next day or maybe later that afternoon, and cut it all that day with at Jim's studio. And who else? Schools was on bass.
Yeah.
And Adam on keys, and Jesse on acoustic guitar, and then us both on electric guitar.
Yeah, it turned out great. That's such a beautiful song. To me, that might be the most beautiful ballad that Neal wrote. And there's another one called Too Much to Ask, and they were both on Anytime Tomorrow. Those are kind of great 2 ballads, and the way you guys did it is a little more Stax kind of memory.
Yeah, we took put a little pocket, like a soul kind of thing of it, but Marcus sounds so good singing that one, man.
Yeah,
it was just right in his zone.
Yeah, no, he crushed it.
Yeah.
And so you've got Neal's 1952 Gibson Southern Jumbo there. Show us that guitar.
Yeah, man, what a special guitar. I feel so blessed to have this. We discussed when, Neal left a lot of instruments behind, and it's always like kind of strange because this is obviously, Neal's baby. But after a while of us talking, I was like, let me play it for a couple of days and let's see. And as soon as I picked it up, I mean, it's such a intense thing to lose somebody, and then he's still here, his music's still here. It was weirdly enough, the case having all the stickers of the places he'd been and some of his stuff in there, like, really hit me hard. And it took me a while to really play it. And it's still, something where it like kind of lives in this corner of the studio, and it's kind of has a life of its own, so anyway, I've been playing it, and it's just such an inspiring instrument to play. I know he loved it, and I feel blessed that I get to play it, for sure.
I have this, so for years, because, I'm an instrument nut. So for years I'd been haranguing Neal, like, next time you're in Philadelphia, we have to go to Philadelphia Vintage Instruments.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been there.
I have not, actually.
Okay. It is probably the greatest acoustic, one of, I don't want to say the greatest, but it's in a old brownstone, beautiful building in Philadelphia.
Wow.
And the guy who owns the store is also like one of those, Antiques Roadshow, like, kind of evaluators of instruments. So fairly famous. And he also is the one of the foremost authorities on violins and cellos and violas. So in the upstairs of this brownstone, he sells like super high-end string instruments. Downstairs, beautiful acoustic guitars, banjos, and mandolins. So Neal had a day off on the CRB tour in 2016. And so I drove down to Philadelphia, and they were getting ready to record the CRB album Barefoot in the Head. Is that what it's called? Barefoot in the Head? Yeah.
I can't remember. I think that's right. Yeah.
And he wanted to borrow like a couple instruments. So I brought him like a mandolin, a tenor guitar, because I just have weird stuff. And I said, we got to go to Philadelphia Vintage Instruments. He's like, I can't buy any guitars, man. No.
Yeah.
Let's go and look. So we went over there, and we were there for about an hour, and he played, 50 amazing guitars, and he was good. He was ready to go. Guitars that he loved, but he wasn't going to buy anything.
Yeah.
He picked that up, and he went, and then he was like, oh, fuck. Sorry to swear. But then he's playing it for a little while, and then he was like, I got to get this. What am I going to do? How am I going to get this? And so he was responsible enough to not buy it on the spot. He left and for like a week, and then he called me. He's like, I'm doing it. So he called the store, and they shipped it to him. And
I feel like that is a good policy. If you leave and a week later you still want it, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
You got a way. You don't really regret it.
Yeah.
And I knew I hadn't even played it when we talked, and we were like, it would be like a donation to the foundation. So I was like, yes, that's by all means, let's do that. And I just knew when you told me the story of him picking it up, and the first chord I played, man, I got goosebumps on it. And it was one of these things where it took me a minute to really be able to play it. But then once I started playing it every day, man, I've been writing I wrote a few songs for my new record with it. And it's just an inspired instrument. And I think that's an interesting thing. And I've definitely had a lot of conversations with Neal about that. There's certain instruments that will inspire creativity, and it's beyond when it reaches that, it's like there's no price you can put on that, even though you tell people what you pay for, they're like, oh my God. But you rarely regret buying a great instrument,
Yeah. Well, he really respected your ability on guitar. I had a lot of conversations with him about that. So I'm glad that's in your hands, and we're going to watch you play. What are you going to play for us?
So I decided to do Ship of Fools. It's my first time singing and playing the song, weirdly enough, because I've played with Phil for a while. For some reason, that's never been in the repertoire. But when I heard Neal sing this song, I got so moved by his version of how he sang it. So first it was intimidating, but I figured I'll just do it. I'm going to do it a different way. But he really sang this song like it was his own. So I figured I would do this one for Neal.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Check it out right now.
All right. Thanks, man.
In the sea, a captain, strangest I could find. Lay my problems just on down, laid it on the line. I won't slave for beggars' pay, likewise golden jewels. But our slaves learn the way. Sink your ship of fools, on a cruel sea. Ship of fools, sail away from me. It was later than I thought, when I first believed you. Now I cannot share your laughter, ship of fools. So your first ship sink and drown, from rocking on the boat, and all that could not sing or swim was just left there to float. I won't leave you drifting down, but whoa, it makes me wild. 30 years upon my head. Have you called me child? Ship of fool, monocruise sea. Ship of fool, sail away from me. It was later than I thought when I first believed you. Now I cannot share your laughter, ship of fool. Bottle stands empty as they were filled before. Time there was a plenty, but from that cup no more. Though I could caution all, but I still want a few. Don't lend your hand to raise no flag. A time no ship of fools, ship of fools on a cruise sea. Ship of fools, sail away from me. It was later than I thought when I first believed you. Now I cannot share your laughter, ship of fools. Now I cannot share your laughter, ship of fools.
Thanks, Eric. Beautiful. Next thing I'm going to show you, so if you guys saw that we released 2 new Neal songs a couple days ago. So at the beginning of the show, we showed you the video for Everything is Moving. I'm going to show you a video now for Green Moon. This is a lyric video, but it also uses this beautiful animated graphic that my friend Julie Gratz made, and she's an amazing animator and artist. And if you love this artwork on the Neal Casal Music Foundation merch store, you can order a print of this artwork, and it's actually an augmented reality print. So you download her app, and when you're looking at the print through the app, you'll see it move just like the way this video is going to move. So check it out.
One, two. There's a green moon rising, silver stars behind it. We're on our way again. Another day soon will end. We are free to go, but nothing's gonna be like it was before. Oh, these hills are my home. Oh, these hills are my home. Count the days behind you, they will always find you, no matter where you've been. You will return again. There's a place for you in time to be a witness to something so divine. Oh, these hills are my home. Oh, these hills are my home. Oh, these hills are my Oh, these hills are my home. Oh, these hills are my home. There's a green moon rising, silver stars behind it. We're on our way again. Another day soon will end.
Wow. That one blows my mind, really, that song. Hints at what a new Neal Soul album would have been like. And I know that song was really important to him. And I think he wrote it about 4 years ago. And yeah, beautiful. I'm going to bring on George Sluppick, who played drums on that. So Neal left that song. There were no drums on it and not really any bass on it. So I sent it to Jeff Hill, who hopefully a bunch of you know who Jeff is. He was the bass player in CRB for the last 4 or 5 years. And of course played with Neal in Hazy Malaise and on a bunch of Neal's solo records and live gigs over the years. So Jeff is so great at figuring stuff out like this. So then we decided, let's get George Sluppick, the original drummer in CRB, and have George play some drums on this. So I interviewed George a couple days ago, and I'll play that for you now. You can hear what George has to say about that. Hang on 1 second. We go here. Okay. Get me out of here.
Hello, George.
Hey, Gary, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing really, really good, man. What a song!
Yeah.
God,
You know,
it's such a good song. My goodness.
Yeah. There's Neal wrote so many great songs over the years. And there was always there were always ones that were his favorites that I know he was particularly proud of. And this is going back to 1991 when we first started making demos.
Wow.
I remember when he wrote Free to Go, he really was excited about that. And there's beautiful early demos of that. And Green Moon was the first, Neal, after he finished Sweet in the Distance, he really focused on being in CRB and then Hardworking Americans and then Circles Around the Sun. So he got off track with his solo career. He just didn't have time to do it. So when he had a little break and he had written Green Moon and he went and recorded it, he had that old excitement when he sent me that demo. He was really excited about it. And just, I'm glad that we've been able to finish it up. So how did you, when you heard the song, you obviously had to figure out how to record yourself and how to play to a song that was already done and didn't necessarily, I don't know that Neal ever thought about it having drums or not, but I know that he didn't think it was finished. So how did you manage to pull it off? You did a great job.
Thanks so much. Well, when I got the song, it had layered vocals, layered guitar. There was no bass. And but he had put a bass drum he put a bass drum down on it, like playing like half notes, and it was really really beautiful. The song, I guess it's in 6/8, and it sounded incredible. First of all, like I put it on my headphones when I first listened to it. And when his voice came through the speakers, and I was hearing Neal's voice again in my headphones, man, I'm not gonna lie, man, I broke down into tears. It was really powerful hearing his voice again. Such a beautiful song, beautiful arrangement. I knew what I was gonna play immediately. I have somewhere buried in my computer videos that I shot of Neal and I jamming together, just the two of us, at various sound checks when we were with the CRB. Like he would be, he would spend, a good 45 minutes to an hour sometimes at sound check just by himself, just dialing in his own sound. And every once in a while he would settle in on a part, and you could tell he was really happy with it, and I would hear him from backstage and I would come creeping up, and then I'd sit down at my drums and I'd grab my phone and just start filming, and I'd play like some ride cymbal along to him, and he would turn his head back, and give me that big, huge smile of his, approving of my jamming with him while he was sound checking his guitar. So there was a bit of that. There was a bit of that playfulness that I tried to capture when I was putting my drum part down. And just remembering, how he was a very playful guitar player, and he loved drummers. He loved good drummers. And I know that he and I definitely had a real strong bond in that respect, So it was really beautiful. I tracked it, I think, twice. And I sent him to Jeff, and I said, I said, is this, am I in the right, am I in the wheelhouse here? And he gave me a couple of ideas for tweaks, and then I recorded, I think, 1 or 2 more takes of it. So I think the final take of it was either the first or the second take, after the little adjustments. But I recorded it in my little drum room here at my house, and I have a pretty nice little audio setup here, which I put together during quarantine. And it was really amazing because it was the first song that I did in my little studio, and I was really nervous because I've been touring all my life, and I made a bunch of records and recorded a bunch, but I'd never actually recorded myself by myself, in my own space, so it was all new. So I wasn't sure if it was going to be good or not. But when Jeff got the finished take, he seemed so happy about it. Of course, then you guys sent it to Jim Scott, at Pliers, and he worked his magic on it. So I was completely blown away with the results. Jeff actually put his bass on after I tracked the drums because we weren't sure if we were going to need bass because the guitars were so multi-layered with vocals, and then when I put the drums down, it was moving really nice. But Jeff said, "Man, I think I'm going to put a bass on here." And when I suggested maybe he should put upright, he was already there. He was like, "Man, I'm already tuning it up." So he put his upright bass on it.
Yeah.
It
turned out so beautifully.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah, and I think it's a weird thing to do, to take somebody's unfinished song and finish it in a way that you think they would appreciate. So I know, just you played so much music with Neal over those years in CRB, and obviously Jeff has played for years with him as well on recordings and on the road.
Yeah.
And so I knew that you guys could be trusted, and you served it up, and it turned out beautifully. And I know that Neal would love it.
Thank you. I know that he wasn't really crazy about a lot of like fancy fills and stuff. Neal was a groover at heart, we used to always talk about like the genius of Charlie Watts, because he was such a huge Stones fan. And we used to listen to the Stones all the time, and we would just comment on how Charlie was just a groove machine, and we had several gigs. I want to say 2012, there was some special moments where we were on stage, and I was just really just locked in, just playing like really simple stuff. And like Neal would turn around and just give me the hugest smile. And then after the gig, he would just like, "Man, you're really in the zone. God damn, it was so much fun grooving with you tonight." And I know like he was really into that aspect of drumming, like when people would really just lay into it. So I tried to keep that in mind, and not play a bunch of fancy fills and just serve the song,
Yeah. Well, you definitely nailed it. And,
Thank
Neal,
you.
Did you ever hear Neal play drums?
He got on my drum kit a couple of times. He was very reluctant, but he sat down at the drums and like rocked little beats a couple of times, and it didn't make me angry. But I knew I was like, man, this guy, because honestly, I knew about him for years and years before we actually met face to face, and vice versa. He knew about me from Mofro and stuff, because Mofro had toured with Hazy Malaise, many years ago before I was with Mofro. But I remember when I joined Mofro, I remember them talking about Neal and Hazy Malaise, and I had his record early on. So when we finally met at the Alley in Los Angeles for first CRB rehearsals, I was like, "Hey man, I've been listening to you." And he's like, "Hey man, I've been checking you out." So we had this thing, but man, like months and months went by before I even heard him play piano the first time. But I remember it like it was yesterday. We were at a rehearsal, sound check with CRB. And Adam McDougall was off. Maybe he'd gone to the bathroom or something. I don't know. He wasn't on stage, but like Neal walked over to the Rhodes and sat down and started playing the Rhodes so beautifully. And I was like, this guy was just made of music. He really was. He didn't need any of us. That was I want to add too. That was the real beauty of this song too. Is and also the tricky part of it, like you were saying. It actually didn't really need anything at all. It had a bass drum. He had tracked a bass drum to it, and then multi-layered vocals and guitars, and it was beautiful just like that. We could have left it, because it was perfect just like that. So, I tried to respect that as well, and just not add a bunch to it. Because, man, Neal, it's funny. Neal definitely could have just had a solo career for his whole life and not played with any bands ever, and just been like another James Taylor. He was definitely in that realm for sure.
Yeah, we always thought of the roadmap was the Neil Young vibe. Was like sometimes he would do acoustic stuff, and then because Neil loved playing with bands, when he wanted to play with bands, he could do that too. So, I mean, in tune, that's really what happened. A lot of his solo career, he did play solo gigs, and then sometimes he had a band with him or a trio or whatever. So, but you did a great job on that, man. I really appreciate it. I think he would 100% approve.
Yeah, I felt some good vibes coming from him when I was playing. I knew he was there with me. So sure miss that guy.
Yeah, we all do. And I see that you've got an Angie Pickman kind of what is that? A drawing back there, and
it's one of her cut paper pieces. It's Ursa Major is the title of this one. Beautiful, man. I fell in love with it, and it was a Christmas gift from a friend many years ago, and it's been on my wall for a while. I love Angie.
Yeah. All right, George. Thanks, man. Appreciate you taking
Gary, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you.
All right. See ya.
I love chatting with George. I've known him for a long time. Next guest is probably one of the most influential musical people in Neal's life, and it's Brent Rademacher from Beachwood Sparks. And in 2000, Neal moved from the East Coast to California, and he quickly became great friends with Brent and Brent's brother Darren. And Neal eventually wound up in Beachwood Sparks for a few tours and a couple records, and he just loved Beachwood Sparks. We had discovered that first record with Canyon Ride on it, and we just loved that record. And so then all of a sudden he was playing in the band, and we were excited about that. But he just loved the songs, particularly that Brent wrote. And I know he was really proud of everything that he did with Beachwood Sparks. So let's say hello to Brent. Brent.
Hi.
I can't hear you. I can hear you now. Hello.
How's this?
That's good. How are you? Where are you?
We are at Mono Deluxe, a studio in Los Feliz. It's Johnny Neiman's studio where we make all the gospel beach records. We made the Trevor Bell Jimenez record here, and we were cutting a Christmas song today, and I just decided to stay here and do this from here because we just put the laptop right where Neal sat when he recorded the guitar parts for Let It Burn.
Amazing. So when did you first meet him? Do you remember?
Just like you were saying, it had to be 2000 in between tours. I don't know if it was when did Anytime Tomorrow actually come out?
2000.
Okay, so he gave, that's the first CD of his that he gave me. So I met him when that was almost out, and I had to have met him in like early 2000. I mean, the very first thing he did for me was I told him, I said, "Oh man, I got back from tour. I had a big fight with my girlfriend, and now I don't have anywhere to live." And he just said, "Here's the address." He gave me the keys to his apartment that was right over there in Los Feliz. Honestly, I mean, we talked, of course, about Beachwood Sparks, and we had a mutual friend, Bobby Gale, and next thing you know, I was there throwing parties at his house while he was out on tour.
Yeah, amazing.
Horrible.
I guess I don't know. What do you remember about his musicianship and playing with him?
Goodness. Like he made, like when he joined Beachwood Sparks, like we his singing and his playing, we were just like, well, he he's real. Now we're real. Now we're going to that next step. I just want to show you something this was Neal's, and Michelle August bought me this, and Neal kept this photo album that wasn't used in his photo book, and the first picture in it is Beachwood Sparks playing at the Knitting Factory.
The Knitting Factory in Hollywood, right? Not the New York.
Hollywood. Yeah. And I'll get to his musicianship, but this is full of crazy memories of all the touring that we did, not just with the Black Crows, but the UK stuff. There's some incredible pictures from a great trip that we took to Ireland, and some good pictures on the ferry. But so Neal at the Knitting Factory, we talked, and we were doing really well. Like, we're almost like the house band there. We played there once a month. And I said, we have another gig coming up. Would you like to open? And he's like, sure. And he opened for us acoustic.
Yeah.
And I remember Eddie and Diamonds. I remember sitting there. Was nobody there yet when he was playing. It was just a big empty floor. Not nobody, but just a few people. And I just remember, let's just say I remember the first line of that song just really like hitting me hard. And I was like, wow, this isn't just some like fake 60s LA dude. This is like a real musician. This is a real writer. And the fact that he loved our band so much, it just, I mean, that always goes a long way with me anyway. But, I mean, I believed it. I still have people telling me, saying that Beachwood Sparks was his favorite group. And Neal, we're here with Johnny and Trevor, and Neal is our favorite musician, hands down, our favorite guitar player. And now, I don't want to ramble too much, but now I've always listened to his solo records, but now that they're out and more available for everybody to listen to, the world's finding out just what a writer he was.
Yeah. And the on Highway Butterfly, the tribute album, you guys do You Won't See Me Crying beautifully, I might add. Did a great version of that. And that's one of the things that's been really cool about working on this tribute album, because I always, through the years, we were always like, Neal would be like, I wish somebody would cover some of my songs. And so now we're hearing other people do his songs, and it's so great. It's just so beautiful to hear them all. I can't wait for everybody to hear all this stuff. I've been trying to come up with a sequence of 40 songs. Good luck. But I'm doing my best.
40 songs?
40 songs. Yeah.
And they're all good. And that's why, okay, You Don't See Me Crying was one of my favorite Neal songs, hands down. And I didn't even pick that to cover. It was Chris Gunst who wasn't able to play on it because of COVID. But that was, when I first heard that song, I heard a rough mix. He sent it to me. I never thought I could play it. I never thought I could play any of Neal's songs, but we've covered Freeway to the Canyon, and now we've covered this. But, one time we were on tour in Spain, and Neal was playing guitar with Beachwood Sparks and singing with us. And he's like, hey, before the gig, come down. I'm playing. It's a kind of a multi-level club. Come down and see me playing. I'm doing a solo gig. So I said, sure. I went down, and he was playing, and he played two of my songs, Old and The Reminder. And I honestly cried. It takes me a lot to cry. I don't.
Yeah. Well,
he won't see me crying, but I really did. I cried. I told him, I hugged him. I said, nobody's ever played anything that I've ever written, and you made it sound like a real song. This just touched me.
Well, you return the favor now, and he did a beautiful version of The Reminder. That's such a great song. And
really hard to listen to.
Yeah, and he loved you as a songwriter. I remember when you guys were working on the Tarnished Gold album, and Neal and I used to like to drive around in cars and listen to music. That's basically what we did all the time. And he was like,
friends.
Yeah. And I was in California, and he's like, you got to come up here. I got to play you some of these roughs from the Beachwood Sparks album. So first one he played me was Tarnished Gold. And I was just like, yeah. So Mutual respect. Well, you going to play something for us now?
Yeah, we're gonna do the You Don't See.
I can't see Trevor. Where is he? Is he hiding?
Come over and say hi.
Trevor's got an awesome solo album out right now. Hello, Trevor.
Hey, how you doing? Well,
good.
Casal was supposed to play. Like, we're here in the studio. Neal spent so much time here. This was where we wanted to record some more stuff for Neal, and he wanted to record so bad here. He was slated to play guitar on Trevor's record, and his last session here, he left this, and Johnny just brought it out. You know that I'm obsessive, and I want to touch and say and post everything, and that's just my nature. But I've never seen this. I knew it was here, but Neal left his toiletries type bag here with his toothbrush and his toothpaste and his hair products, all the things that a good rock and roller needs on the road. And I just want to smell it and show it to everybody. It's just incredible. We're going to put it back where he left it, and it's going to be there in case you ever come and record at Mono Deluxe. We'll know it's here, but this is kind of special. So
amazing.
I hope we don't fuck this song up.
Well, I don't know how you could.
Yeah, Johnny's going to play along because so we did this song for the Highway Butterfly album with Jim Scott. So the gifts that Neal gives is what I always talk about. Curation Records, a lot of LA bands that are bigger now and known by more people than they would have been without the attention that Neal brought. Some of the tragic attention, to be honest. But shit, I forgot what I was going to say. The gifts that he just keeps giving and giving. To go and record with Jim Scott, we had Beachwood Sparks and Gospel Beach. We had members from both bands. That was an experience of a lifetime. It was everything. I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. He's the only person I ever tried to sing like, and I'm going to stop myself from doing that. But that was incredible to be down there, and it was something that Neal gave us, and that's like we were. I mean, I hate to say it, we wouldn't have gone there. We wouldn't have been recording there without him. I probably wouldn't have even met Jim.
There you go. The gifts just keep on coming.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do. You're just such a great guy.
Yeah.
This one's for you.
Play us a song. All right.
All right. 1, 2, 3. You tell me that you're so sad and blue, but I don't see you crying. It can't be that bad for you. If I don't see you crying, it's all in the past. Finding out the hard way is tough to make a good thing last. It's such a different world now, and then it brings me down sometimes if I make it back again. Then you won't see me crying. You're falling too bad. No one ever told me that time was gonna go so fast. Everybody's talking, but I don't understand. I gambled and I lost it. I turned around and ran. Now I'm running as fast as I can. Running as fast as I can.
It's all in the past. No one ever told me that this could all be gone in a flashback to everything that we've been through. I don't see you crying, no. And you won't see me crying, no, no, no. Now I won't see you crying, no, no, no. Now you won't see me crying, no, no, no. I knew I was gonna fuck it up, but that's all right.
Nah, he would screw it up himself. You did a great job.
Well, it's too many dang chords, Neal. It's all the same one, but you know, we almost got through. The recorded version's a lot better. But thanks to Johnny for having us down here, and thanks Gary, and thanks for everybody watching out there, and just
Thanks for coming on, man. I can't wait to hear this Christmas song. Is this coming out soon? I hope.
yeah, it's coming out Monday.
All right. And you're still working on it. Look at you.
Band-Aid. We do it fast. Well, we actually cut it all, and Johnny's going to mix it tomorrow. And then Monday, we're going to send it out to everybody who bought Trevor's record.
Excellent.
And it's going to be like a little holiday gift from the Curation family. And then by Wednesday, it's going to be downloadable for everybody. And came out really good. Sorry
right.
about that ending up to that one. I you know what I was thinking of?
What?
The whole time we were playing, I was like, you know, George Sluppick played on the second Gospel Beach album, the one that Neal took the photograph for the cover, but he's not on. But we were trying to figure out which songs George played on besides Change, and I swear that was in my head at the end, and I was yelling at Johnny about the outro. I was like, hey, don't mess that up, and then sorry.
And then you messed it up. You're fired.
Gladly, please.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.
Bye, Gary.
Thanks,
Bye.
man. Thanks.
Peace. Bye, Vito.
Well, that was fun. And more fun now. Here comes Ross James. Ross.
What's going on, Gary? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you? Look at your little music room.
I know, yeah, the sound stage as it's become during quarantine.
It's excellent.
times.
I see a picture of Neal over your right shoulder.
Yeah, man. My wife got that for me actually as a surprise, and I like having it there. I do a lot of teaching and working from this room, so I kind of get to see it every day, you know. Yeah.
So tell me what you have a song that you wrote about Neal.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, right after he died, I was, you know, feeling all kinds of emotions, and you know, I'd never really dealt with losing a friend that way, and it really threw me, and just sort of wrote down, you know, some of the stuff that I, you know, wish we would have said more to him when we had the chance, kind of, and you know, help me through that process for sure.
Wow. When did you first meet Neal?
It was whenever the first time he came to Terrapin was, which was probably 2012 or 2013.
Yeah.
And it's funny, man, because, you know, I didn't really grow up a Grateful Dead fan, and just sort of ended up in that scene, and but Neal and John Graboff were like heroes of mine for a long time, and you know, I didn't really care about the rest of the stuff that was going on that much at that point, but when Neal and Graboff showed up, I was like, whoa, now it's on. These guys are, you know, these guys are here, and it was so funny, man. I'll never forget, because you know what a what a spaceship his pedal board became, right?
Yeah.
I remember when he first showed up at Terrapin, he had a piece of plywood with like 4 pedals Velcroed to it, you know? And I just remember kind of seeing the evolution of that over
Yeah.
the years.
Yeah, it really became something. He really had it dialed in. If anybody is interested in Neal's guitar sound and the pedals that he used, there is, if you look on YouTube, Rig Rundown with the Chris Robinson Brotherhood. So you get to see the exact instruments and amps and pedals that Neal and Chris both used. And it's really detailed. And I know Neal was excited about that because he loved to talk about that stuff, nerd out.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Fun. Well, let's hear this tune.
Yeah, you got it, man. Here we go. Well, I wish you had taken your pain, rolled it up in a bone, sat in a circle with all of us, lit it up and passed it around, 'cause we'd all take a hit, breathe it in deep, yeah, we'd all take a hit, from our head to our feet, we'd all take a hit for the love of you, we'd all take a hit, hell, I'd even take 2. When I met you, I was green as the trees, but more than just a stone face you somehow did see. But your hurt, your pain, that ain't no lie, and I'll see you again in that by and by, where we'll all take a hit, breathe it in deep, yeah, we'll all take a hit, from our head to our feet, we'll all take a hit for the love of you, we'll all take a hit, hell, I'd even take 2. Well, I only hope now that you are free, looking down on all of us and see how your light, your waves, and your sound made our world spin around. And let's all take a hit, breathe it in deep, let's all take a hit, from our head to our feet, let's all take a hit for the love of you, let's all take a hit, hell, I'll even take 2. Yeah, let's all take a hit, hell, I'll even take 2.
Oh. Speaking of hit, maybe that's a hit. Maybe that'll be a hit.
Who knows? Who knows? Thanks, man.
I really dig that. Have you recorded that yet?
I've just kind of demoed it out. I want to do something with it. Yeah, I want to record it for sure. Just haven't gotten around to making a real track out of it yet.
Oh. Well, keep me posted, because maybe after COVID we can figure out how to do that.
I'd love to do it,
James
man.
Schools and Jim Scott.
Yeah, man.
Do it with those guys. Thanks, man. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Thanks so much for having it, and thanks for everything you're doing with this, man. It's really cool to keep Neal's spirit alive this way. It's really rad, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's fun for all.
Yeah, man.
All right. See you, Ross.
See you, Gary.
That was fun to hear. And so on the last Circles Around the Sun tour, it was in May of 2019, we were in Washington, D.C. at Gypsy Sally's. And we went out to, the band and I were there, and we went out to dinner that night with Hank Sachs. Hank is a booking agent, and he books Circles, and he books Green Sky Bluegrass and Railroad Earth and Grace Potter and a ton of other people. He's a great dude, huge music fan. And Neal had been in touch with a guy named Chris Swope, who makes beautiful guitars, Swope guitars. And we're going to bring Chris on in a second. He's going to tell us about how he met Neal and how he got this guitar to Neal. But what I remember about the night that Neal got that guitar, we went out to dinner with Hank right down the street from the club. And Hank said, I've got that guitar in my car. So we went out and got it. It was all boxed up. And then me and Neal and Dan and Mark and Adam walked from the restaurant all the way back to Gypsy Sally's carrying the guitar, box. And Neal unboxed the guitar and he started playing. He was like, dude, this thing is great. And now Neal was a guy who liked playing vintage guitars, old guitars, new guitars maybe, but mostly old guitars until he, when he met Scott Walker and he made that guitar. And so that opened his mind to the fact that it wasn't just vintage guitars that could be great. And so he had met Chris, and Chris sent him this guitar to try out. And that night, Neal was playing his Walker guitar during the gig, but the Swope guitar was on a stand in the dressing room. And this was probably meant to be, I would say, because Neal didn't break a lot of strings on stage on that Scott Walker guitar. And 2 songs into the Circle set, I was sitting backstage, which was right next to the stage, and the door busted open. And Neal came running in and he grabbed that guitar. He's like, I broke a string. He grabbed the Swope guitar, and like 2 seconds later, I heard him plug it in the middle of the song, and he just started wailing. And I went out front and I was like, wow, this guitar sounds great. And for the rest of that tour, he played that guitar, that Swope guitar exclusively, and he loved that guitar. So Chris Swope was nice enough to sell the guitar to the Neal Casal Music Foundation. We're auctioning it off. So I'm going to bring Chris on, and he's going to chat with us about how he met Neal. Hello, Chris.
Hello. How are you?
Nice. I'm good. Nice to see you. And yeah, I want to fill in the blanks. How did you get in touch with Neal and get this guitar to him?
The Neal thing was totally, Gary, I was minding my own business. I was just flipping through Instagram, and you know Rick Mink, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so I knew Rick a little bit through a friend, and followed him. He followed me. I never met Rick in the flesh. I'd seen him play, hadn't been introduced to him or anything, but he posted something about an artist, and forgive me, I don't remember who it was, but it was some guy who, Rick was looking forward to hearing this new record from, because it was produced by Neal Casal, and he'd heard great things about it or whatever. And, I didn't do this, I did my thumbs, but, it's like, oh, dude, Neal Casal, it's like, I bought Fade Away Diamond Time when it came out, and it's just been one of those records that I've always loved. It's never really left the rotation. That's a quarter of a century ago. That's a powerful, powerful record for me. And, a couple sentences said that, and Rick, just like immediately right back was like, want to meet him? I bet he'd like your guitars. I'm like, yeah, I do. And so, he hooked us up, and, I chatted with Neal a couple times, and trying to figure out when the right time to get him something was. I forget if he was wrapping up something with CRB or what at the time, but eventually, not that long later, maybe a month or 2 later, the deal happened that you're talking about, and got him the guitar, and it was just magic. It really was. He and I both kind of joked about it a little bit, about how it really was destiny. Just one of those things that it was a really great fit, and he really got the guitar. It was one, you talk, was Eric and you talking about that Southern Jumbo. Some guitars just speak to you,
Yeah.
and they may not speak to the guy who picked it up right before you necessarily, but it speaks to you. And I don't know, it just seems like it was something at the time that he just really embraced and was fresh. And I mean, it was wonderful. It was a short ride, but it was a great ride.
Yeah. I want to show a little clip of Neal wailing away on that guitar on the night after he got it. So the night he got it was when we were at Gypsy Sally's in DC. So this is the next night at the Ardmore in Philadelphia. And the volume's not playing, is it?
No.
It is?
Yeah, I hear it.
All right, let me put it back in. Hold on, there's another second. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man.
So what we've done is, so we have an auction. I'm going to show you guys a link if anybody is interested in bidding on this guitar. So here it is. It's up on a web page now, which is this page right here. So if you go to I'm going to post a link. I think there's a short link it'll go to. Hold on, I will tell you what it is. And this was set up by Michelle August, who does so much fantastic work for the Neal Casal Music Foundation. A lot of you might know Michelle, but she's the brains behind all of this stuff we're doing. So the link is ncmf.link/swope-auction. But if you look at betterworld.org, you can find this, and we'll post it as well. But we are taking bids on this beautiful guitar. So if anybody is interested, there's a lot more information here about it and some pictures of it as well. So you can see it's a very beautiful gold guitar. And what did Neal name this guitar, Chris?
Golden Eye.
Golden Eye.
Which he told me he had stayed there and loved the place. And, you know, like many things, I'm like, isn't that a James Bond movie? And he explained to me that, you know, it was what Ian Fleming's estate or something like that. And now it's someplace that maybe you know more than me, but that it is sort of like I don't want to say a bed and breakfast, but it's someplace where you can actually stay. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that story.
Well,
I'm glad. We're going to have to do some investigative work. But he really did love this guitar, and I love the finish on the guitar. It's a very unique guitar. And also, my friend Eric Gamble plays one of your guitars, and lots of other people. So if anybody is interested in a Neal Casal guitar, this is the one to get. And there's Neal's strap. It's a soldier strap that he personally picked out that he loved.
I wondered if that was part of this.
Yeah. So you get the strap too. And so the opening bid is $2,000, and the auction will be up for 7 days. So if you're looking for a Neal Casal guitar, this is the way to get one, and all the proceeds will go to the Neal Casal Music Foundation. So that's the story.
Right on.
Well, Chris, thank you. Thank you for making this guitar that Neal loved the last few months of his life.
I tell you what, it's the greatest satisfaction I've ever had professionally. Just the feedback from him. Like everybody, I fell in love with the dude, and I miss him.
Thank you, man. Well, I'll keep you posted, and we'll see how much this guitar sells for. Hopefully somebody's going to get it who loves it.
Right on. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Chris. Take care. Well, there you go. If you want to bid on a guitar, that's the one to get. I love that guitar. Neal really, really loved that guitar. It's very special. Okay, we got a couple last things here. I know it's been 2 hours already, but whatever. It's Saturday night. You can't go out to a show, so you might as well keep watching. So anyway, so we mentioned the Highway Butterfly album a couple times, obviously, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. Actually, just one thing right now, a video for a song called Traveling After Dark that was on Neal's album, No Wish to Reminisce. And Lee Tasjan covered this song. And I just love what he did to this song. I think it turned out great. And we made a video for it, and you'll see a lot of people you know in this video. We did it at Jim Scott's Plier Studios. Hey, that's Peggy back there. Peggy? There you go. Look at Peggy. I'm going to show you this video. We have not premiered that. I wasn't going to show it tonight, but I just decided, why not show it to you, and then we'll talk to Aaron.
I'm traveling after dark, I'm running down the road, straight into the heart of a place I've never known. I'm looking for a sign, guided by the stars, until I see your light. I'm just traveling after dark. We take the part of you, the one you love the most, the one thing that was true, the thing you held so close. Got bridges all burned down, gotta head back to the stars. Until you make it back, we're just traveling after dark. Traveling after dark, guided by the stars. Just dream another dream, and may it take you far. Traveling after dark. We all want something real. We're all hoping to find a closer way to feel. Just one thing to remind, just one way to forgive. Sometimes you fall too far, just someone to be with when we're traveling after dark. Traveling after dark, guided by the stars. Just dream another dream, and may it take you far. Traveling after dark. It's time you go to him, 'cause he really needs you now. His days are closing in, you never let him down. He's running out of time, you know this in your heart. You won't leave him behind when he's traveling after dark. Traveling after dark. Traveling after dark, guided by the stars. Dream another dream, and may it take you far. Traveling after dark, guided by the stars. Dream another dream, and may it take you far. Traveling after dark, guided by the stars. Dream another dream, and may it take you far. Traveling after dark.
You know, we're honoring our friend, and yes, sometimes it gets heavy as we discover that he was a melancholy guy with some loneliness
as we go through these songs, lines pop out, and Jim and I are like, look at each other, and then we're just like, okay, back to work.
It's time you go to him because it really needs you now. I mean, just, God, man, you know, I mean, really.
But it's been recast as something beautiful.
Yeah, now it's in another place.
And we all get together here, and most of the time it's just exuberance and joy, you know, and some honor, you know, a lot of honor. And yeah, we miss the guy. And sometimes, what is up with that chord change? God damn it, Neal! How'd you get away with that shit? But if he's here, he's probably snickering to himself in the corner. And if there's such a thing as a ghost camera, he's off in the corner taking ghost pictures of all of us.
Yeah.
Just like he always did.
There you go, world premiere. And that was done, you know, pre-COVID. We were having such a great time making this record because where a lot of tribute albums are, you know, artists from all over the world. You record your song in your studio, they'll record their song across the world, and we'll all put them all together and call it a tribute album. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something where there was a sense of community. And so Jim Scott had made so many records with Neal. He produced Fade Away, Diamond Time. He also produced the last record Neal did, which was Circles Around the Sun, a self-titled album. But Jim worked with Neal for 25 years. And we decided that Jim and Dave Schools would co-produce this tribute album. And we wanted everyone to come to Jim's studio, which is in Santa Clarita, California. And it's a musician's wonderland. It's a gigantic place filled with instruments. And it's just the best place to make a record. It's a really magical place. And so we did 16 songs there before COVID, where everybody came out. People flew in from all over the place. And so we made little films like that. So I'm happy to show you that video. And of course, when COVID hit, we had to figure out a way to finish this record. So people have been recording all over the place. But we still seem to have that sense of community. And Jim Scott has mixed everything, and Dave's been involved. And we have recorded a couple more songs over at Jim's. And I can't wait for everybody to hear all this stuff because it's very, very special. So that was Aaron Lee Tasjan. We'll have a quick chat with him. I'll show you that now. So check this out. Okay, so let's say hello to Aaron Lee Tasjan. Hey, man.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I just figured, you know, we've had almost 40 artists cover songs for the Highway Butterfly album, and you did Neal's song "Traveling After Dark." And that was a song that I think Neal wrote around 2004 or 2005. And I remember we were really excited about his original demo of it. And then the version that he put on the No Wish to Reminisce album, I don't think we ever felt that great about it. In retrospect, when I hear it, I think it's awesome. But I think you captured something in your version of the song, which was there the whole time that Neal and I had listened to that original demo, and he never quite got it. So I mean, dare I say, your version might be the definitive version of that song.
Oh,
you know,
wow. Wow, I'm truly honored that you would feel that way about it, man. I mean, that's just one of those songs to me that the third it felt like you know how sometimes you can hear a new song, but it just feels like it was always there somehow, even though you're hearing it for the first time. It was just like one of those songs that felt like it just had always existed as soon as I heard it. Like it felt like an old classic or something like that, you know, but I hadn't heard it before. And so I just like songs like that, you know, always really moved me. And Neal was such a great songwriter and also wrote like a lot of different kinds of songs, which is one of the things that like I really admired about his songwriting. Like there's such a depth to it, you know. He really took it as seriously as everything else that he did, you know. And that song just immediately like jumped out to me the first time that I heard it. And when, you know, I learned about this project through Dave's schools and learned that I was going to have an opportunity to maybe participate in it, I was like, man, I hope nobody's done Traveling After Dark, because that's my favorite Neal song. Like, I gotta sing that one.
Yeah, and so when Dave told me that was the song you wanted to do, I was so happy, because I was trying to think about who could do that song. And when he mentioned you, I was like, perfect, that is perfect, because what I've heard in your albums and your recordings is this kind of cinematic production, or just you have a way of recording that is really beautiful. And I think that lent itself so well to this song. And I love it so much that it's going to be the first track on the Highway Butterfly album.
Wow, man. That's amazing.
I think it's a great way to start a tribute album to Neal, because the chorus, Traveling After Dark, guided by the stars, dream another dream, let it take you far. I mean, that's a beautiful message, and one of my favorite lyrics that Neal wrote. And yeah, your version turned out great. Do you tell me just a little bit about, I know you didn't know Neal all that well, but you guys did have a little bit of at least a text friendship, right?
I got to meet Neal basically right around the time that Hardworking Americans started. So I had met him before that, but it was always just in passing, like a mutual friend, you know. I was very friendly with John Graboff from living in New York City and just playing around the local scene there. So I got to meet Neal, you know, basically through Todd Snyder and the Hardworking Americans folks. And, you know, I had already been a fan of his songs and of his work as a guitar player outside of that, in all the different bands that he played in. And he just struck me as the kind of artist that I really admired, because he always, like, he put everything into whatever he was doing. You know, I remember like hearing the instrumental music that he made for the Grateful Dead, and just being blown away at like how perfect and, like, you know, I mean, it just like, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of people that could have done it as well as he did. And you know, and that's what I really loved about Neal, was just his commitment to art, you know. And like, you see that like through his photography and through his music and all the different capacities that he used his musical gifts, you know, the different bands that he played in, and his own records, of course, and the different people that he helped. You know, he was such a great connector of people, you know, is the other thing that was really cool about him. But you know, he and I kind of like had I played guitar a little bit, did a tour with the New York Dolls one time, like playing the Johnny Thunder stuff, and he loved Johnny Thunder's, Neal. So we had some really great intense Johnny Thunder's conversations that are some of my favorite memories, like, of all the musical conversations I've had. Like, he had such a depth of knowledge and pulled out so many insightful things that, like, I hadn't even considered as a guy who had, like, done that role in the band. You know what I mean? So that's, you know, he had such a great way with detail.
He was a great listener. He really, really loved records. And we used to, obviously, we're going back to like the late 80s, but we used to just drive around and listen to records in my car, his car, and talk about like the sound. And it was at the time when he was just starting to write some solo songs. And we just loved listening to music. And he had a really, really detailed ear. Yeah. And he was also a sponge. So as soon as he started
going in the studio and learning about recording, he like really quickly, he was so good.
Right.
Yeah, he was really great that way. Well, thanks, man. I can't thank you enough for popping in here.
Oh,
and I just, like I said, I really love the song you recorded for the tribute album. Beautiful.
Well, thank you again so much for having me and for allowing me to be part of this project to honor Neal. He just, meant so much to so many of us, and it feels like such a beautiful way to remember him. And I'm so grateful to be here today and to have been a part of this project. So thank you so much.
All right, Aaron. Thanks, man. So, mystery solved. GoldenEye, Neal, obviously there was a James Bond movie called GoldenEye, and Ian Fleming is the guy who wrote the James Bond series of novels that were turned into films. So he must have made a pile of money because he bought a incredible place in Jamaica, which after he passed away, Chris Blackwell from Island Records bought it and turned it into a luxury resort. And Christy Coleman was Neal's wife for 4 years in the 90s, and she's just a wonderful person, really, really important person to Neal in his life. And she and Neal went there, and she's watching, and she dug up this picture. There's Neal. Boat says James Bond Beach, and there he is in Jamaica. And that's Christy with the snorkel on there. And that's why he named that guitar GoldenEye. So if you want to bid on a guitar, that's the one to bid on. And thank you all for watching. I can't really thank you enough. Everybody has been so generous and so sending out so much love about Neal. And that's great. And enables us to continue doing the stuff that we're trying to do and put out this record. And we also just got our first batch of guitars that we're going to be giving away to some students, hopefully before Christmas here. So I'll keep you posted on that. That is one of the missions of the Neal Casal Music Foundation, is to provide instruments and lessons for kids in schools who maybe can't get their hands on an instrument, whether it be a guitar, keyboard, or drum set, or a drum box, a loop machine, whatever they're using these days, whatever the kids are into. And a lot of the money we're raising is going to go towards that, and another large amount of money are donations that we're going to give to mental health organizations that help musicians and people who are struggling. So there's a company, organization called Backline, and they do great work for people in the music industry, people who are touring professionals, and people who are having a hard time on the road. It's not an easy lifestyle. It's great for all of us who like to go into shows and hearing records because we get that enjoyment from it, and musicians do as well. But it also is really a difficult lifestyle. You put a lot of things away that you can't do. It's hard to balance a family life and be on the road. So what we're trying to do with a lot of the money we raise is help people, musicians who are struggling through that same experience that Neal went through, and try to help them get through it. So Music Cares, we've given a lot of money to them as well, and they do amazing work for musicians, not just mental health, physical health. A lot of musicians don't have health insurance. So, you're out on the road and you stumble and break your foot. You don't have health insurance, and Music Cares helps so many musicians, and also older musicians who are retired now and maybe never had a retirement plan, don't have any money. So Music Cares have done amazing work, and we're happy to raise money from you guys and pass it along to them on behalf of Neal. So the last segment, this is a fairly long one. It wasn't supposed to be that long, but I was speaking with Jay Blakesberg, who you guys probably know is an amazing photographer, and he also when I got Neal's photo archive, I was just like, who's going to sort through this and figure it out and put a book together? And I sent everything to Jay, and Jay was a great friend of Neal's. And Jay's daughter, Ricky Blakesberg, really spearheaded the creative energy. She went through all of his photos and thought about how to organize them and put them in a book. And I'm sure a lot of you already have the book. It's called Tomorrow's Skies, Photographs by Neal Casal. And if you don't have it, it is available in the Neal Casal Music Foundation merch store. Beautiful, beautiful book. So I did an interview with Jay a few days ago, and we talked about
photographs that he's taken of Neal over the years. So I'll show you that, and this will be the last segment for the night. And apologies, I don't know why when I did the interview with Jay, like it seemed like everything was going great and my picture was really clear. But as you'll see in this, I'm really blurry, but it's not about me. You don't need to see me anymore. So here you go. Check this out. And then I'll sign off at the end with a couple more little tidbits. So here you go.
And I photographed him performing with the Cardinals here in San Francisco. Michelle August, who of course helped out with the Neal Casal Music Foundation, is who introduced me to Neal, and she brought me to a show in Berkeley, I believe it was, at the Berkeley Community Theater, and introduced me to Neal. And you know Neal, I mean, he's your best friend like in 5 minutes. And the second I was a photographer, he didn't know much about me. I think Michelle's like, oh, I want to introduce my friend Jay, he's a great photographer. And, Neal likes to take pictures. And that was sort of our initial dialogue, but it was very, very simple because as you remember, Neal was still a little bit reserved about his photography. He was not very much out there in the public with it. He was not really like, oh, I'm a photographer. Like, he didn't think of himself as a photographer. He definitely considered himself a musician who carried a camera. And so eventually he said to me, hey, I want to publish a book of my Ryan Adams photographs. And me and him started talking about doing this as a self-published project because I self-publish all my books. At this point, I've self-published, I think, 15 coffee table books of my music photography. So I knew how to do it. Back then, there was a lot less. I mean, I'd probably done like 5 of them at that point. But I knew how to do it. And so we started to figure out how we can self-publish and reach the Cardinals fans. You got to remember, it was also the very beginning of social media. Like, Facebook was a few years old at that point. And so we all didn't have 20, 30, 50, 80,000 followers, right? And so we were trying to figure out how many could we make, and would Ryan sign them, and would they all be limited editions that were signed by Ryan and the whole band and Neal? And we started kicking all this stuff around. And then the first thing that we did is that we scanned his negatives. So he brought all of his Ryan Adams negatives to my studio, and he already had an edit, and we scanned them. We did all the digital production because we wanted to see what they look like. And Neal shoots in a very organic, ambient, natural light way. And so some of those negatives in recording studios or backstage are, a light bulb on the ceiling or a lamp desk or something like that. So a lot of contrast, maybe very thin on the shadows. And so we really worked these scans and just made them beautiful. And then we sort of sat on the book idea for a while. And then Neal got an offer from a major publisher. Was it Abrams who put it out? I can't remember.
Yeah, Abrams.
And so, the second that offer came in from Abrams, he was just like, you know what, I got to do it with them. And it was really more because he felt like it was taking a lot of weight off of his shoulders in terms of having to deal with Ryan and having to deal with contracts and having to deal with coming up with the money on his own, because we were both going to put up the money to do this. And, Neal was not a wealthy man at that point. He was a working musician. And so it just sort of lifted this burden that he felt on his shoulders because he wanted that book to come out. And I was just like, go for it. I gave him all the scans and said, here, these are yours. Do what you need to do with them. And it was fine, And so that book came out, and I loved that book. It was a beautiful book. And as you know, after Neal passed away, one of his wishes was that somebody would publish a book of his photography beyond the Cardinals. And I felt like when I read that in those last wishes and that long manifesto, we'll call it, that he wrote, I felt like that was somewhat directed at me. He didn't call me out at name because that wasn't Neal's style. Neal wasn't like, oh, and Jay, will you make a book of my photography? Or Gary, will you make, you know what I mean? It was just like, when I read that, I felt like it was a call to me. And my daughter, Ricky, who studied photography in college and has a great eye, and I work on photography projects with her all the time, was like, I want to work on this. And it was perfect because I was busy and had things going on, and it was the beginning of quarantine, or it was actually, I'm sorry, it was in November, and she was coming home for Thanksgiving through Christmas, so she was going to be here for 5 or 6 weeks, and so she dug in and started doing the first edit, and which was great, and that's all she was going to do. She was just going to edit the photos, and then we were going to scan them and get this going. And ultimately what ended up happening is that, the pandemic happened. She left Brooklyn to come back to San Francisco in March, and she sort of took over the whole creative of the book and acted as a creative director, working with the art director on the look and feel. And she went out online and bought all these books on surfing and music and skateboarding that sort of she wanted to, come up with a look and a feel and a vibe that she felt worked with Neal's photos. And so she sort of took it on her own, and I was sort of the production guy because I know how to make books. So I dealt with the printer and the shipping and the cargo and the, all that kind of stuff. And she dealt with the creative stuff with a woman named Francie Green, who's an art director that did my hippie chick book, did my jam book. And so the three of us sort of, created this book, and that's what happened with Tomorrow Sky, and that's how it came out. And I have to say it really is beautiful, and Neal's photography is stunning. And I hope that we get to do more things with that photography, and I think we will. It's just we got to get through this pandemic to figure out how we can do gallery exhibits or other things where we can share that work, because I think that Neal's photography is such an important part of who he was as a creative individual. He was a musician, he was a songwriter, he was a side man, he was his own songwriter, he was a lead guitar player, he was a photographer, he was a surfer. He had like all of these creative outlets, and all of them sort of revolved around improvising. I think you improvise when you surf, you improvise when you play guitar, you improvise when you're with CRB, you improvise when you're a photographer because you want to blend in and be invisible. And so I want to continue to kind of bring that work to the forefront and dig deeper into that archive and see what else we can share with people.
Well, you did an amazing job, and Ricky, of course, as well, just crushed it. But what we'll do now is we'll take a look at pictures that you took of Neal over the years. And for 13, 14 years, you took pictures of Neal in all kinds of settings. So I picked some out. We'll take a look. This is the first one. This is Ryan Adams in the Cardinals. You can see Neal when he was well dressed. When he was in the Cardinals, Neal went through a phase where, well, you could see all the guys were very well dressed. A lot of vests and ties and blazers, except on Ryan. But there's Neal with it's a little dark, but he's got a vest on and he had a tie. And then you got John Graboff's little orb of hair back there. Where was this taken?
This was taken on January 28th, 2008. And I can't remember, but this might be, the Ryan Adams fans you can go look it up online. But this was a run, I think that was the Herbst Theater in San Francisco, which was part of the Opera House complex. I think that's where that one was. And there was another one maybe at the BCT during that same run, which is the Berkeley Community Theater. I can't remember, but there was like a little 2, 3, 4 night run in the Bay Area with a couple different venues. And I'm pretty sure that's where these were taken. And it's funny because I did these long sequences. I had a tripod and I set it up because I was trying to make like a little film made out of still photographs. So there's thousands of photographs that I would just go with the motor drive and get these little bursts, and I'd move the tripod to different places in the room. And I actually did make a little video somewhere along the way. I got to find it. I think we have a super low res of it because we were just starting to dabble in video. And I think that my editor, when they exported it, never exported it at high res enough. But I think it'd be pretty easy to go back and recreate it now because the technology is there. But that's part of what this is from. And this is basically I shot him in 2007 and 2008 with the Cardinals.
They were great at that. That's, I think maybe it was the last tour that Chris did with them before he passed away. Chris Feinstein, the bass player, and they were really quite a great live band. All right, here's another shot you took of Neal.
Yeah, this is in 2009, October 9th, 2009, and this is at a little venue here in San Francisco called the Makeout Room, I believe, in the Mission District. And it was just like a little singer-songwriter night. I think that actually Michelle August had something to do with putting this show together, but it was Neal Casal and Tim Bloom, and that might have been when Neal and Tim met and became friends. Tim is also a big surfer, and so they had that bond. They had the songwriting bond. They had that California soul thing going on, and it was just like a little tiny show. There was maybe 30 people in the room, 40 people in the room, and just one of those moments with Neal. Again, no beard, dressed up. This is before he got all hippie psychedelicized by the CRB.
And of course, we haven't announced it yet, but I'll announce it now. Tim Bloom has done a song
of Neal's, Cold Waves, which is going to be on the Highway Butterfly tribute album. And it's beautiful. He did an amazing job. It's actually Tim with Kyle from Little Wings.
Awesome.
Now here's, I'll go through a few CRB pictures. I love this one. Where is this?
This is the Oregon Country Fair. Let me see what the date on that is. That is July 7th, 2017. And, this was just like a really, really fun, super psychedelic show. Tony, the drummer, Tony Leone, dropped some acid for the first time in many, many years. Right? Chris dosed, Jeff Hill dosed, I dosed. All of us were like pretty psychedelic at this. I would say that Neal did not dose. I remember specifically.
Neal got the dosing out of the way and when he was 14 and 15.
Yeah, and I saw him being asked if he would like to partake. He's like, "No, I'm okay." But everybody had a grand time, and it was, it's the perfect place for that because it's the Oregon Country Fair, which is this super hippie, psychedelic party in the woods. And the band does 2 sets. They play 1 set during daylight hours for anybody that is part of the fair, and then they take a break, a long break, and then they come back after the fair is officially closed. They play a nighttime set, which is just for the people who are the vendors and the employees and the workers at the fair, because they no longer have to work because the fair is closed. And so they get to do this second set and at night. And this is just one of those fun things where, you're up on this little stage, and the Oregon Country Fair people are just such incredibly wonderful people. And if you've never been to the Oregon Country Fair, I highly recommend you checking it out. They have great music there.
It looks awesome.
Super fun, super cool, super laid back, and super hippie.
All right, let me see what else I got here. All right. This is pretty classic. This is one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, this is from a great show. This was November 22nd, 2014 at the Great American Music Hall. At the end of the year, for many, many years now, Chris, whether it was the Black Crowes or the CRB, would do a string of shows either at the Music Hall or the Fillmore, sort of the end of the year shows. And, after Neal passed away, this shot got a lot of attention and just Neal with that look. And, it's funny, at this time period when Neal had his hair like this and the beard, it really reminds me a lot of Jerry Garcia in 1982. The way he sang into the microphone, the shape of his mouth. I have some pictures of Garcia from 82. When I look at them, I just see Neal. And when I look at these pictures of Neal, I see Jerry. And, of course, he's got that incredible, Scott Walker guitar there. And this was just peak CRB. I mean, they were creative. It looks like that's George on drums in the back there, not Tony. Peak continued with Tony on drums and continued with Jeff on bass. I mean, it was really a magical band, and that Neal Chris connection, I think, was really powerful. And they were right up there with the old Jagger Richards, Lennon McCartney. I mean, in my opinion, I know that's a big leap, but like I just felt like it was our version of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A contemporary version of that singer-songwriter, Chris lyrics, Neal music, Chris, that vibe, and just a really, really rich time for some really wonderful music.
Also, what I really miss too is the sound of them when they would play, and you could walk right up to the front of the stage at a lot of the gigs or fight your way up at other gigs. But just the sound that was coming off the stage was so good.
Yeah.
There
was never a show in the Bay Area where you could walk up to the stage. I mean, I know that in some of the smaller markets, they played smaller rooms, and that might be easier. But in the Bay Area, these shows were always heavily attended, full, sold out every night, multiple, people coming back every night, to see those shows over and over again because they were really, really dynamic shows. This, I believe, is Mountain Jam. Yeah, this is on June 3rd, 2016 at Mountain Jam in upstate New York, right near where you are, near Woodstock.
Yeah. Well, I love this picture because you had told me a story about how a lot of the times when you were taking pictures of the band of CRB, and particularly when you were shooting Neal, Neal always was aware
that you were shooting, even if you were sneaking around, or Neal would see you and he would give you a moment, or he was aware that you were there and he was trying to give you a little something.
Yeah, that's for sure. And sometimes, and I don't know if you have this one, that one where he's looking back and smiling at me. That was a moment at lock-in where, he was like, "Oh, I saw you sneaking around. I knew you were trying for something, but I wasn't sure what it was, and I didn't know what to do, so I just gave you that big shit-eating grin." But yeah, I mean, Neal was animated. When Neal and Adam would lock into place, so this particular shot, he's looking at Adam, right?
Yeah.
And it is part of a sequence where he's got this big grin, and he's definitely there's a moment going on without a doubt between him and what's going on on stage with Adam for sure. That was definitely the vibe right here.
Yeah, I love that picture. Let me pick up another one here. Okay, this one I like because this is the kind of electric guitar stance that Neal used for years, going back to his metal days.
Yeah, for sure. But and it's funny here, like looking at this photo, the way he's dressed versus in the Cardinals with the slacks and the vest and the button-down shirt. This was typical Neal with the the bell-bottomy jeans that were a little bit frayed and the tie-dye T-shirt. This is at the High Sierra Music Festival, July 1st, 2016. Another place that I love to shoot. We had great hangs. I think this was also the year that he did a Hardworking Americans gig there as well. And they did this late night show in the vaudeville tent. That was perhaps one of the most epic live rock and roll experiences that I've ever had.
Wow.
It was one of those shows that was this railroad, this train engine going down the tracks at 110 miles an hour and making these turns and coming up on the side wheels and coming back down and weaving through these turns. And it was like so close to going off the rails at any moment, but it never did. And it reached these crescendos and these peaks that were, I can't even describe how incredible that High Sierra Hardworking American show was. And I'm almost positive it was the same year. And so it was like Neal double duty, which he would do a lot. Like at Lock-In, he would play, he'd play with O'Teal and he'd sit in with Phil and he'd play with Bob and he'd do Circles Around the Sun. And I remember there was one year at Lock-In where we kept saying that Neal was the VIP because I think he played 7 or 8 times on different stages during that weekend. But yeah, that High Sierra shot's a great one. And again, it's just that Neal vibe, just, chill, fucking hippie, hanging out with everybody. And Neal was also the kind of guy that after he played, he'd go walk around out in the audience, and hang out with friends. And, like he was friends with everybody. He was like a magnet, like he was not afraid he didn't hide behind backstage security people and backstage doors. He'd just walk out and start a conversation and hug you and go on his merry way and say hi to somebody else. It was very cool.
Missed that for sure.
Yeah.
All right. This one is awesome. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this is a weird shot. So I did the final photo shoot with the CRB just before they broke up. And this is in a rental house in Marin called the Falkirk Mansion. My buddy Dan Skinner, who is a big CRB fan, who a dear friend of mine for 40 years, he got married at this building, and that's how I discovered it. And after I went to that wedding, I was like, this would be a great location for a photo shoot. And we had the CRB shoot scheduled, and we were going to shoot it outdoors in some other places. And then it started to rain that week. And I was looking at the weather, and it was supposed to rain the day of the shoot. So I rented this building at the last minute. They use it for weddings and parties and events and stuff like that. So it is a rental. It's a few $100, and it's just this old antique, vintage Victorian in Marin County. And what's going on here is that I'm actually just testing my lighting. And these guys, it's sort of like a little break between setups where I'm moving some lights around, and I just saw this shot. So this was not a pose shot. This is just like an in-between thing. There was also a lot of tension going on at this moment in the band because Adam was actually asked to leave the CRB, I believe, a week or two after this photo shoot. And so, this was the beginning of sort of the end of the CRB. Maybe it wasn't the beginning, it was maybe towards the end of the end, because there was, like any marriage with, a band is like a marriage, right? And it had gone south. And so it was a very awkward day. It was also the middle of a 3-day shoot that I did with the band for making 2 videos for the last CRB record. So we did a photo shoot one day. We shot the video for Chauffeur's Daughter on one of the days, and then we shot Let It Fall, the other video, up at Chris's house, which was one of my highlights of working with Neal, directing him in a video, and when he came out doing the guitar solo and Let It Fall, and you can find these on YouTube and Vivo or wherever. Neal comes out to do this guitar solo, and all of a sudden he becomes like he becomes the guitar player in Exire, basically. I mean, this heavy metal dude, like super animated, because the first solo he does in that, he's got a wine glass where he does a little slide on his guitar. And when it's his solo, he comes out and I literally look at Neal and I say, that was incredible, but please don't be so cartoonish when we do the next take. Because it was so over the top for Neal. He was having so much fun. And he still did the same thing. Like, he came out right towards the camera. And, so like that whole week for me had these highs and lows, because the photo shoot was really, really tense, because Adam didn't want to be in the band anymore. Chris didn't want the band to be going on anymore. Like, it was all crumbling. But when we shot the video, everybody was just like, it was a party, go watch the Let It Fall. It's a party in Chris's living room. Yeah. And everybody was having fun, and it was all of the band's best friends as the extras. And so it just was a different vibe. But that was really, that was the end of the CRB. And, as we knew it, Adam left the band shortly thereafter, and they toured without him a little bit before, they officially called it quits.
Let's look at another one. There's a couple of these, and some people have probably seen these. These are amazing.
Yeah, so this one here is December 11th, 2015, backstage at the Fillmore in San Francisco. That's the downstairs dressing room. And again, that's Jerry Garcia's Wolf guitar. Neal loved playing that guitar. He got to play it, I think, a couple of times. And there's a good friend of the CRB and Chris, a guy named John Cornick, who's also a photographer and a filmmaker. And he was doing work with another filmmaker named Dan Pritzker, and Dan Pritzker owned the Wolf guitar. Wolf lived in Mill Valley, California, and John Cornick was trusted enough to take that guitar from Dan and bring it to venues for CRB to play a couple of times. It was happening at the Great American Music Hall and also at the Fillmore. And Neal just always said, this is a guitar not meant to be behind glass in a museum. This is a guitar that's just dying to be played. And he was just thrilled at the fact that he could hold this fucking instrument that had so much history and so much power and so much magic. And so, another great shot of Neal with that Wolf guitar. He loved it. He loved every second of it. And I'm just so blessed and feel so good that I have these photos of Neal in that moment with that guitar.
Yeah, they're really, really special. I think I've got a couple more here. Let's take a look. Different day.
Different day. This was the Great American Music Hall in 2012. So that's 12/12/12 is this photograph, December 12th, 2012. The other one that we just saw at the Fillmore was December 11th, 2015. So again, these are the end of the year runs at the Great American, the Fillmore. And, it's funny, when we had the guitar here, there's this famous photo of Garcia with his feet up with this guitar. And I think I had Neal and Chris both pose like that with the guitar, kind of trying to mimic that Jerry shot a little bit. But again, and I think that this one here, the 2012 one that you just showed, that was the first time that Neal held Wolf and played with Wolf. That was the first time. And then the Fillmore was the second time. Yeah, there was another
little variation of it. I can tell you a quick story about this flannel shirt that Neal's wearing. Neal loved flannel shirts. When we were growing up, we had lots of cheapo ones. This particular one, I think, is like a really high-end, like $200 flannel shirt. And we were shopping one day, and he was like, I know this is crazy and it's so expensive, but this is the best flannel shirt. I'm just doing it. and he did it. And it's a great shirt. It was a great shirt. He was, you know, Neal was a New Jersey working man kind of guy. So like for him to spend that kind of money on a flannel shirt, I think he was embarrassed by it, but he loved the shirt, and it's great.
There you go. Well, it's in the Jerry Wolf shot. So
yeah, so it lives on. Let's see what else I got here. Oh, there you go. There's one last one with that. This is such an amazing photo.
Yeah. Again, just, you know, you can see the joy of the moment of him. I mean, you know, I don't remember what we were joking about or laughing about, but it was just something, you know, about that guitar that just was just like, oh my God, you know. So, and then I took a picture of me holding the guitar afterwards. So I've got a Neal Casal photo of me with the old Wolf.
That's great. I just love the way this one is framed. With the neck looks so gigantic.
Yeah.
I got two more to show you, and these are pretty heavy ones, because this was at the last gig Neal, or the last couple gigs Neal ever played that night at Lock-In.
Yeah, so this is the one I was talking about earlier. So it was just starting to get twilighty, and I was crawling around behind the amp, sort of looking for an angle to get like a silhouette of Neal against the blue sky and eventually against the sunset sky. I was trying to get the same thing with O'Teal. And Neal knew that I was up to something, because I stayed back there for a good 10 minutes, which is not like me at all. Like there would be 2 or 3 minutes where I wasn't even shooting, and I was just hiding behind his amp, because I don't want to be that much, you know, I don't want to be, it's not about me, it's about the musician, but I'm trying to get that shot, right? So I would like be hiding there, and then I'd pop up and Neal would look at me, and there's a little series of about 6 or 8 shots from this little thing. But this is this one moment where he just was looking at me, because he just fucking knew, like, and then I had dinner with Neal after this show, which was my last hang. You know, as you mentioned, he flew home the next day to Santa Barbara, and it was the following morning that we lost Neal. And so when we had dinner together, that's when he was saying to me, he goes, yeah, I knew you were up to something, because you were just there for a really long time. And so he goes, I didn't know what to do, but I just decided I was going to like stare at you and you know, just throw that smile your way. And then I think the next shot, I think what you're going to show is the sunset. Yeah. And so as the sun, I think I actually left the stage because I was up there a little bit too soon to get the sunset. And I went back up there maybe another 10 or 15 minutes later again, because the sky was starting to change from that blue sky to this sunset. And, you know, and I just kind of wait for it, you know, the only way that this shot works is if he's in profile. You know, you got to be able to see his nose and his mouth. You know, it's unmistakably Neal. Whereas if he was looking straight ahead at the audience and it was just the back of his head, it could be anybody. But it's unmistakably Neal. And then when I had dinner with him that night, you know, they played. I went back to my office and downloaded these photos and actually put this on my phone because I wanted to send it to Neal. And I got to catering right at 8:30 p.m. and they closed at 8:30. And there was nobody in the catering hall except for me, Neal Casal, and Barry Sless. And Neal walked by my table to throw his food away. And I said, hey, man, come and sit down and hang out. And so he sat down next to me and we bullshitted for 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe at the most. You know, we mostly talked about the set of music he just played. I knew that he had a lot of heavy stuff going on in his life. And I had talked to him about that a few months earlier, and I didn't really want to bring it up again. You know, like I knew what he was going through. I knew that he was struggling. I wish that I could have, you know, foreseen something. But, you know, we were just chit-chatting about, you know, how they sent him a cut for the song they were going to play with Weir during O'Teal's set, you know, and he learned it off of a live CD, you know, okay, this is the way we're going to play it. And then, of course, when Bob got on stage, it was completely different. So we're just kind of joking about how Bob loves to throw curveballs at everybody and he loves getting on stage with Phil and Bob. And, you know, we were just two guys just, you know, he was sitting there eating dessert and I was eating dinner. And then he, you know, I said, let me text this to you. And he goes, oh, I got a new number, you know, which, as you know, he had, you know, changed his cell phone number a couple times there at the end. And And so I got his new number and I texted it to him. And then he saw Barry and he went over and talked to Barry for about 5 or 10 minutes. I split, I had to go shoot something. And then later that night, I stay off site at Lock-In, and I decided I was going to leave, but I wanted to go see either J-Rad on the main stage or Circles Around the Sun in the forest. And at the last minute, I said, you know what, I'm going to go see Circles. And I jumped in my golf cart. It was closer to where my office was. I ran in there. They were just getting ready to go on stage. I saw them. I gave everybody a hug. Told Neal it was great to see him and hang. I shot like 20 minutes of the set, 30 at the most. Got my golf cart and drove back up to Charlottesville to go to sleep because it was like 2:30 in the morning at that point. And I had an hour-long drive back. And the next day, Neal flew home. He texted me a photo that he took at Lock-In of Bob Weir and O'Teal. I forget who else was in the photo. And said, great to see you, man. I still have that text on my phone. And then the next day, I got the phone call from Stu Levine, another great photographer who's documented the CRB and dear friend of Neal's. And he called me and said, what happened? And I was heartbroken, and like we all were. That was that, you know.
Yeah. Well, you took so many great pictures of him that'll live on forever, and this particular one is really just so classic. And obviously, we've used that on numerous pieces of merch as well, and baseball card and some buttons and.
And that's an honor to me and a privilege, and I thank you for that. And I'm happy that this photo exists. You know, I mean, this is why I do photography. This is why I shoot these bands, because I love them. I love these people. I love this music, and I want these photographs to be a lasting document of the joy these musicians have brought to all of us for many, many years. And if this is what I'm left with, you know, I'm lucky that I'm left with thousands of photographs of Neal. But if this is the one that is going to define me and my relationship with Neal, or it's going to define, you know, that final moment with Neal in the sunset, then so be it. And I couldn't be happier about that, because Neal is missed, you know, and this is a godlike photograph, and you know, Neal has left this mortal coil, and he's out there in the ether with all the other great musicians, and hopefully looking down on this sunset, and you know, still with us in some way in our hearts and our souls with his music, his photography, and his spirit.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. And thanks everybody for listening and supporting the Neal Casal Music Foundation. We really, really appreciate it. We don't want anybody to ever forget the contribution that Neal made to all of our lives.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jay, the great thing about Jay is you can tell how much he absolutely loves music and taking pictures of great musicians, and he's a lifer. He's been doing it since he was a teenager, and still has that same enthusiasm, still has cool hair, really impressive with that. And he is just, you know, to me, there's a lot of great rock photographers. Talk about Jim Marshall and Henry Diltz and people like that. And people are going to look back at Jay's photos in the same way. It's just, you know, he's got a body of work 40 years deep of great shows, great musicians, album covers, everything. So thank you, Jay. And thank you all for watching. I really, really appreciate it. We can't say enough. We really appreciate all the love. And we're going to keep doing good stuff. And couple of things, I guess, if you haven't had a chance to pick up this 7-inch single of Everything is Moving in Green Moon that came out 2 days ago, you can get it on the Neal Casal Music Foundation merch store. There's not a lot of them. We've sold a bunch already. So if you want to get one, they're only $10, and they will, if you buy it now, you'll get them in February. We should be getting those in February. It takes a long time to print up vinyl. And there's a bunch of other cool stuff in there. As I mentioned, when we watched the Green Moon video, there is a augmented reality print of that artwork. So that's also really cool, and lots of other great stuff that we have. And I'm very excited to get to next year, as I'm sure you all are. And next year it will be all about the Highway Butterfly tribute album. And as I mentioned, 40 different artists covering Neal's songs. It's going to be a 5 LP vinyl box set, probably 2 or 3 CDs. And it's going to be awesome. Anyway, that was a really long show. That was like seeing a CRB show. So over 3 hours long. And I want to say thank you to Michelle August and Kevin Calabro. Those are people who are working behind the scenes on the Neal Music Foundation with me. And they're amazing and dedicated to carrying on Neal's music. And thank you to Vito Ronaldo, who is the mastermind behind the Tree of Forgiveness nightclub, which I guess you guys have probably all been seeing some of the shows he's been putting on. He's also a Buffalo Bills fan, which is a very painful existence if you're a football fan. And he might have a shot this year, so let's root for Vito. Monday night he'll be playing, the Buffalo Bills will be playing against Dan Horn's 49ers. So as much as I like to see nice things happen for Dan, but the 49ers have won plenty, so we will root for Vito. And I'm going to say goodnight to Vito. Thank you, Vito. Oh, good shirt.
Yes.
And great job by you. I love that you've made it your mission to bring great web stream events. And I'll be curious to see what happens when COVID is over. Maybe you'll be promoting shows at the Buffalo Bills stadium. Do they still have a stadium, or are they playing in Toronto?
Cut that out. They're the only team that plays in New York.
You're right.
That's right.
You're right.
Thank you, Gary. It was a great night, man. Great night all around.
All right. Thanks, everybody, again for watching. I hope you all have a great holiday, and we'll look forward to a much different 2021, hopefully a much better 2021. Amazing things have happened this year, despite the tragic stuff that's happened. But let's try to look at the good stuff, and next year, hopefully it'll be all good stuff. So see y'all. Good night.